Chapter 1179. Mu Fengyin was infuriated by his shout. He glared at Jiang Chun with killing intent in his eyes and said in an extremely cold voice, "You're courting death." Then he waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Kill him." "Yes." Immediately, an emperor appeared out of thin air. He stretched out his hand, which was as heavy as a mountain, toward Jiang Chun and his two companions. "How dare you?" Jiang Zixio's expression changed drastically. Facing the attack of an emperor, the three of them together couldn't block it. Jiang Chun was also shocked. He didn't expect that Mu Fengyin would really dare to attack them. However, before the emperor's palm could land, a woman in a red dress rushed to the front of the mountain gate and shouted, "Stop!" The cultivation of the woman in red was not high, but it seemed that she had a high status in Suzuki Valley. As soon as she spoke, the emperor immediately stopped. At the same time, Mu Fengyin was stunned. When he saw the woman in red, he hurriedly put on a smile and said respectfully, "Lingsha esteemed, you're—" Sure enough, I wasn't mistaken. When Jiang Chun saw this woman, he couldn't help but feel relieved. That was because the woman was none other than Red Caltrip Yarn. Jiang Chun didn't expect that he would meet Red Caltrip Yarn here. When the ancestors of the sky-reaching church returned, they left the 6 realms with Katsura Matsuda and others, saying that they were going to the ancestral realm. However, he didn't expect that they would be here. Looking at Mu Fengyin's attitude toward Red Caltrip Yarn, Jiang Chun thought that the new backer of the Suzuki Valley was probably the people of the sky-reaching church. "Mu Fengyin, how dare you try to kill my junior brother?" At this moment, Red Caltrip Yarn's face was extremely gloomy. If she hadn't come in time, Jiang Chun would have died. Mu Fengyin was a little confused. He looked at Jiang Chun and Red Caltrip Yarn and asked, "Jiang Chun is your junior brother?" "Of course," Red Caltrip Yarn rebuked angrily. "If he's dead, you'll have to wait for the sect leader's anger." This, Mu Fengyin's expression changed greatly. He knew the strength of the new backer of the Suzuki Valley. This group of people had a mysterious background, but they were all geniuses, especially the sect master that these people were talking about. He was a true extraordinaire. If he angered this group of people, not to mention Mu Fengyin, even Bell Sound Valley would be destroyed. It's all a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Mu Fengyin hurriedly explained, "Jiang Chun and I have known each other for a long time. It was just a joke." "Oh, you want the emperor to kill me? That's a joke?" Jiang Chun said coldly. "I'll talk to you about this later. Little junior brother, come in first." Red Caltrip Yarn couldn't be bothered with Mu Fengyin. After asking someone to open the mountain gate, she went to Jiang Chun's side. She reached out her slender hand and held Jiang Chun's face. After looking him up and down, a hint of pity flashed across her eyes. "Little junior brother, you've lost weight." "Ah, I didn't lose weight." Jiang Chun blinked. Senior sister was still the same senior sister. She was still so nice to him. "Esteemed Lingsha, this, I..." Mu Fengyin was completely flustered. He stammered and wanted to explain, but he couldn't find any reason at the moment. "Explain to the sect leader later," Red Caltrip Yarn said coldly. After that, Red Caltrip Yarn led Jiang Chun and the other two directly to the main hall of the Suzuki Valley. As soon as he entered the main hall, Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment. It was because the group of people from the sky-reaching church were all here. He even saw the ancestor of the sky-reaching church. "Huh, little junior brother? Jiang Chun?" At this moment, the group of people looked at each other as if they were very surprised. Although the great wide world is big, sometimes it's really pitifully small, Jiang Chun said with a smile. "I'm Jiang Chun. Greetings, senior brothers, sect leader, and sect leader. We're all family. Why are you being so polite?" Katsura Matsuda rolled his eyes and then asked in confusion, "What are you doing here? It's meaningless to live. I just want to come here to die." Jiang Chun joked and pointed at Mu Fengyin, who followed him. "This little brother almost fulfilled my wish." "Oh, there's such a thing?" Katsura Matsuda's face darkened. He glanced at Mu Fengyin from the corner of his eye and said, "You almost killed him? Kid, you have to explain this matter clearly. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude to you." At this moment, Luo Shu, smiling god, and the others all stood up and stared at Mu Fengyan. Even the ancestors of the sky-reaching church glanced at Mu Fengyan, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. Mu Fengyan was completely flustered because the Valley Master of the Suzuki Valley, his father, who was sitting in the main hall, had not said a word at this moment. Obviously, the Valley Master of the Suzuki Valley did not dare to say a word in front of the people of the sky-reaching church. It's all a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. How would I dare to kill him? He's now the highest consecrator of the Great Void race and the representative of the Jiang clan. I wouldn't dare to kill him even if I had 10 guts. I was just joking. Mu Fengyan's face was covered with cold sweat. As he spoke, he knelt down in front of Jiang Chun. He knew that if Jiang Chun was not satisfied today, he would lose his life. When that happened, even his father would not be able to save him. "Break a seal first, then we'll talk," Jiang Chun said in a low voice. Yes, I'll break it now." Mu Fengyan nodded hurriedly. Then, he made a series of hand seals and quickly broke the seal in Beta Heiki's body. Boom! At this moment, a mighty divine power erupted from Beta Heiki's body. Her severed legs were instantly reconstructed, an emperor-level aura erupted, and a boundless murderous intent filled the entire main hall. "Don't attack!" Jiang Chun saw this and hurriedly sent a voice transmission. After all, this is not the Six Realms. Beta Heike glared fiercely at Mu Fengyan when she heard that. However, she held back her murderous intent. At the same time, Katsura Matsuda and the others looked at Beta Heike curiously. They had all changed their auras, but they could still sense that Beta Heike's aura came from the Six Realms. His name is Beta Heike. Jiang Chun knew that Katsura Matsuda and the others were puzzled. He sent a voice transmission and explained, "He's the last descendant of the Pingtian clan." "What? He's the last descendant of the Pingtian clan?" Katsura Matsuda and the others were shocked. When they looked at Mu Fengyan, the murderous intent in their eyes became even more intense. "Everyone, this is all a misunderstanding." At this moment, the Suzuki Valley Master hurriedly stood up. He could not just watch as his son was killed. He wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead and asked hurriedly, "Everyone, can we let this matter pass? My Suzuki Valley and your church have just started working together. There are some things that my Suzuki Valley didn't understand. I hope you can forgive us. You'll have to ask my junior brother about this." Red Caltrip Yarn said bluntly. "He was almost killed by one of your Suzuki Valley's emperors. I'm afraid this matter won't pass so easily." Chapter 1180. In the main hall, Mu Fengyan and the emperor who had attacked earlier broke out in a cold sweat after hearing what the Red Caltrip Yarn had said. The emperor, in particular, was trembling in fear. He knew that as long as Jiang Chun nodded his head today, he would definitely die. Now, his only hope was to see Jiang Chun's attitude. "Fellow cultivator Jiang Chun, I was reckless before. I hope you can forgive me," the emperor said apologetically. His eyes were filled with fear. As an emperor, he was extremely powerful and looked down on everyone. He was an overlord. However, he did not have the demeanor of an expert at this moment. To him, survival was the most important thing. "You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment," Jiang Chun said softly. He looked at the Suzuki Valley's Valley Master and asked, "What do you think?" "As long as you spare my son's life," the Suzuki Valley's Valley Master said hurriedly. As soon as he said that, Jiang Chun did not hesitate. He formed a series of seals with both hands and destroyed Mu Fengyan's cultivation. At the same time, Jiang Chun struck out with his palm. A ray of divine light cut off Mu Fengyan's limbs like a sharp blade. "I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine. Valley Master, you don't have any objections, right?" Jiang Chun asked. Previously, Mu Fengyan had sealed Beta Heike's cultivation and cut off his legs. Now, Jiang Chun had destroyed Mu Fengyan's cultivation and cut off his limbs to give Beta Heike an explanation. Beta Heike was very emotional. He clenched his fists tightly. He knew that Jiang Chun had done this for him. Moreover, Beta Heike knew very well that if Jiang Chun had not stood up for him, it would have been very difficult for him to take revenge in this lifetime. After all, The 6 worlds had been destroyed, and he was the only one left from the Pingtian clan. If he wanted revenge, he needed to reach the extraordinary realm at the very least. It was almost impossible for Beta Heike to seek revenge on her own before she became an extraordinaire. As for you, it's not easy to cultivate to the Emperor realm. In the future, before you do anything, think carefully. Today's matter is over. Jiangchen looked at the Emperor, leaving the Suzuki Valley with one last shred of dignity. Although the Lord of the Suzuki Valley was heartbroken that his son had been crippled and his limbs had been severed, the Suzuki Valley was still a top force. Naturally, he had a way to help Mu Fengyan recover his cultivation. However, the price was too great. Valley Head, we want to catch up with Junior Brother. You guys can leave first, Luo Shu said. There were some things that couldn't be said in front of them. After all, their identities had not been exposed yet. They had always considered themselves to be living beings of the great wide world. Okay. Everyone please chat. The Lord of the Suzuki Valley hurriedly nodded. He carried the unconscious Mu Fengyan and left in a hurry. At this moment, only Jiang Chun and the others were left in the hall. Of course, there was also an outsider, Jiang Zixio. Are you a disciple of the Jiang clan? The ancestor of the sky-reaching school looked at Jiang Zixio and asked. Yes, senior. Jiang Zixio nodded. Then it's fine. You can stay. It's fine if you hear some things, the ancestor of the sky-reaching school said. As soon as he said this, Jiang Chun and the others had strange expressions. After all, the Jiang clan was from the great wide world. What they were going to say later would naturally involve the 6 worlds. In that case, if Jiang Zixio heard it, would it cause some trouble? The ancestor of the sky-reaching school seemed to have seen the doubts in everyone's hearts. He waved his hand and said, It's fine. In this world, anyone can betray the ancestral realm, but the evil race won't. As soon as he said this, Jiang Zixio's expression could not help but change. He was not a fool. When he heard the ancestor of the sky-reaching school, he instantly knew that the group of people in front of him were not from the great wide world, but the living beings of the ancestral realm. Senior, there are some things that I'll just pretend that I don't know. Jiang Zixio looked a little nervous. He was worried that he had heard something that he should not have. However, the ancestor of the sky-reaching school waved his hand and said, Go back and ask your clan leader. You'll know what's going on. Otherwise, we won't let you hear what we're saying. Clan leader? Jiang Zixio frowned. Then he nodded and said, Okay. By the way, didn't you go to the ancestral realm? Why are you here? At this moment, Jiangchen looked at Katsura Matsuda and the others with a puzzled expression. The world was so big, but sometimes it was really small. There's a big problem in the ancestral realm, so we all withdrew. Katsura Matsuda said, Now, those who withdrew from the ancestral realm are all hiding in various parts of the great wide world. We need to support some forces for our use. When the time comes, we'll rise in one fell swoop and shake the great wide world. The Suzuki Valley can be considered the first force that we support. Hearing these words, Jiangchen was also curious about what had happened to the ancestral realm. However, Katsura Matsuda and the others would not say. This was because Jiangchen had a feeling that most of his previous lives were related to the ancestral realm. Those things were related to some secrets and taboos. Under normal circumstances, Katsura Matsuda and the others would hide it from him. Jiangchen did not care. Anyway, he had been kept in the dark for so long that he had long been used to it. However, what made Jiangchen even more puzzled was what was the use of supporting the forces of the great wide world. When the time came, the identities of Katsura Matsuda and the others would be exposed. Would the forces that they supported be loyal to the ancestral realm? This was obviously very difficult. As if seeing the doubts in Jiangchen's heart, Luo Shu explained, We're just using the name of the Suzuki Valley to secretly develop. When the time is right, do you think the Suzuki Valley will still be the same as before? I understand. Jiang Chun was relieved. It seemed that when the time was right, the group of higher-ups of the Suzuki Valley, and even the Valley Master, would have to be replaced. Only when the great wide world is in chaos and the major forces are at war can the ancestral realm catch a breath and have hope of recovery. Katsura Matsuda said, "The Southern Star region is already in chaos, and now the Eastern Star region should be in chaos as well." Speaking of the Southern Star region, is it in chaos because of Nyenchanga? Jiang Chen asked. Of course. The ancestor of the sky-reaching school nodded and looked meaningfully at Jiang Zixio, saying, "In this regard, the Jiang clan has also contributed." As soon as these words came out, Jiang Zixio was dumbfounded and even could not believe it. The Jiang clan would help the people of the ancestral realm? This was not right. Although the Jiang clan was an evil race, they were still living beings of the great wide world. Even if they did not deal with the people of the ancestral realm, they would not help the ancestral realm, right? There are some things that you can go back and ask the elders of your family, the ancestor of the sky-reaching school said. After that, he looked at Jiang Chun, frowned, and asked, "You still don't remember anything? Except for the previous life. The memories of the other lives are basically blank." Jiang Chun said with a wry smile, "This is really strange. Why can I remember the previous life, but not the previous lives? Maybe there was something wrong with your previous life." The ancestor of the sky-reaching school stared at Jiang Chun, and then a strand of divine thought probed into the depths of Jiang Chen's soul. Chapter 1181. The ancestor of the sky-reaching school was Taoist Heavenspan, who was also the disciple of the Demon Emperor. Jiang Chun would not have any suspicions about him. At this moment, he allowed the other party's divine will to enter his soul world. 3 Tao souls, chaotic chi. After a few breaths, the ancestor's expression froze, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. Tao souls were rare to begin with, and Jiang Chen actually had 3 of them at once. Moreover, one of the 3 wisps of chaotic chi had actually turned into Jiang Chen's second soul. Even though this ancestor had lived for several eras, he had never seen such a thing before. However, he did not enter Jiang Chen's soul world to look at these things. He was looking for the truth. Boom! However, after a few more breaths, a rumbling sound erupted from Jiang Chen's soul world. Then, the ancestor's expression changed drastically. That wisp of divine was actually shattered by the lamp-bearer. One had to know that this was a wisp of divine will of an extraordinaire. How could it be shattered so easily? Perhaps. The ancestor opened his mouth, but in the end, he did not say a word. After a few breaths, he looked at Jiang Chun and asked, "Was your previous life's Tao soul also the myriad transformations heavenly lamp?" "Yes, the memories of my previous life are all there. It was indeed the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, but it was not lit in my previous life," Jiang Chun said truthfully. When the ancestor heard this, he waved his hand, indicating that Jiang Chun did not need to say any more. A glint flashed across his eyes, as if he had seen through Jiang Chen's problem. However, he seemed to have some scruples and did not say the truth. "Your memories have always been there." In the end, the ancestor said this and then walked out of the hall. Everyone looked at his back view, somewhat dumbfounded. Why did he leave halfway through his words? Could it be that he did not want them to see his expression at this moment? Jiang Chun was deep in thought. At this moment, he also realized that perhaps the key to the problem was the myriad transformations heavenly lamp. At this moment, Jiang Chun really wanted to ask those who had seen him in his previous life if he also had a Tao soul and the myriad transformations heavenly lamp in his previous lives. "Junior brother, there are some things that you don't need to worry about. You will know when it's time to know." The ancient book comforted him. "Senior brother, what are you going to do next? Do you plan to stay in Suzuki Valley?" Jiang Chen asked. "We'll use Bell Sound Valley to recruit some cultivators and establish a faction that belongs to the ancestral realm," Tong Tian said. "We won't leave this place unless there are special circumstances." Jiang Chun said seniors with the Heavens Book, Heaven's Heavenly Realms. Of course of the Heavens sect was sect. Essence ancient sect was of the sect. Could take care of each other's of course. Them. However, Everyone rejected him unanimously. You better go back to where you came from. The Xiong's expression was extremely strange. You are too good at causing trouble. If you stay, you will cause even more trouble. Back then, you caused a lot of trouble in the heavenly realm. That, junior brother, this place is not suitable for you. Listening to the group of senior brothers and sisters, Jiang Chen's face darkened. He said weakly, I am very obedient. However, no one believed him. Even Jiang Chen himself did not believe it. After all, what had Jiang Chen done since he came to the Great Thousand World? Let's not talk about the dragon-bearing world. It was a small matter. However, what Jiang Chen did in Tongtian Garden and Zhou Prefecture was not a small matter. Not long ago, he even went to the land of Purgatory and suppressed a Zhou Zhuandao. Then, can I leave Beta Heike here? Jiang Chen asked. No, Beta Heike's identity has been exposed. If he stays, our identities will not be hidden for long. Katsura Matsuda refused directly. Why don't you let him stay with you? I can't take care of him, Jiang Chen muttered. As soon as he said this, Beta Heike's face darkened. He stared at Jiang Chen and asked, What's your cultivation? That? I said the opposite. You can't take care of me. Jiang Chen realized that Beta Heike had recovered his cultivation. Let's not talk about this. It's rare for us to be reunited. Let's have a drink together today. After we are done, I will send you off, Katsura Matsuda said. As soon as he finished speaking, Katsura Matsuda waved his hand and took out a large pile of rare treasures and fine wine. Then the group sat down in a circle in the main hall and began to drink and eat. It was also on this day that Jiang Chen got drunk. When he woke up, he found that he had been thrown in front of the mountain gate of Tongtian Garden. Beta Heike was lying next to him, and he reeked of alcohol. What the F***? They were afraid that I wouldn't come back, so they deliberately got me drunk and threw me back here. Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment, and he cursed at the people from the Tongtian church. What the hell is this? Is this how they treat their own junior brother? Oh, the two of you are finally awake. I thought you had passed out. At this moment, Jiang Zixio and Prince walked out of Tongtian Garden. Jiang Chen had been unconscious for a day. During this time, if Jiang Zixio and Prince had not been looking after him, Jiang Chen and Beta Heike might have been killed. Those people are too deceitful, Jiang Chen said angrily. After pushing Beta Heike a few times to wake him up, they entered Tongtian Garden. Can we bring relatives in Tongtian Garden? Beta Heike, go to the relatives area in Tongtian Garden later and live with a little fox, Jiang Chen said. Beta Heike did not have any objections. Now that he was homeless in the great wide world, it was fine as long as he had a place to stay. However, when Jiang Chen brought Beta Heike to the relatives area and saw the nine-tailed fox Ling Huanin, Beta Heike's expression froze, and he said, I'm afraid it will affect my cultivation. What's wrong? Is your willpower not enough? Jiang Chen teased. The nine-tailed fox clan is all like this. They are naturally charming. It's a good opportunity to train your willpower. I have a family, Beta Heike said in a deep voice. As soon as he said this, Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he burst out laughing. Beta Heike's so-called family was marrying Luoshan. Jiang Chen did not expect that Beta Heike still did not know that Luoshan was a man. Beta Heike, there's something I have to tell you. Jiang Chen coughed a few times, trying hard not to laugh out loud, and said, Luoshan is actually a man. When Beta Heike heard this, he was immediately stunned. He stared blankly at Jiang Chen, thinking that Jiang Chen was joking. But when he saw Jiang Chen's serious expression, what the F***? At this moment, even the usually calm and collected Beta Heike could not help but swear. Chapter 1182. Cultivation was the most important thing for cultivators. Although Beta Heike and Luoshan were married, they were both busy with cultivation, so they did not consummate their marriage. Moreover, no one was in the mood to do that when the calamity of the six realms descended. Beta Heike remained silent for a very long time after hearing this. In the end, She sighed and smiled bitterly. Forget it. I'll just treat it as a joke. Um, I know that you're the only one left in the Pingtian clan, Jiang Chen said softly. His expression was very serious. He even patted his chest and promised, Don't worry, I'll definitely make the Pingtian clan prosper. Leave the reproduction of the Pingtian clan to me. Ah, Beta Heike was stunned. Was Jiang Chen going to arrange a marriage for him? However, although cultivators mainly focused on cultivation, Beta Heike's situation was a little special. He had to revive the Pingtian clan. Although the Pingtian clan had been destroyed, he was still alive. As long as he worked hard, it was not impossible for him to create another Pingtian clan. This depends on fate. Beta Heike had a strange expression. She had just been freed, and now she was concerned about his marriage? Little fox, take good care of him. If you take good care of him, I won't treat you unfairly. Jiang Chun looked at Ling Huanin, and his eyes drooped slightly. He said, Did you hear me clearly? Ling Huanin blushed when she heard that. She seemed to have misunderstood Jiang Chen's intentions. She said in an extremely soft voice, I won't sell myself. Jiang Chun and the others were immediately thrown into disarray when they heard that. What was this little fox thinking about? All right. He'll live here from now on. Just help him with the miscellaneous chores, Jiang Chun said. Ling Huanin dared not say anything. She did not even dare to shake her head. During this period of time, she had also heard some things about Jiang Chun. Now, even if she had 10 guts, she wouldn't dare to be presumptuous in front of Jiang Chun. She felt very uncomfortable and wronged in her heart. Thinking back to when she hadn't met Jiang Chun, she was a teacher in Dragon Soaring Academy. How happy she was. However, after meeting Jiang Chun, everything changed. Let's go, Prince said. The elders of the inner yard are still waiting for us. Jiang Chun blinked and asked in confusion, Inner court elder? What are you doing? What else can I do? Let you enter the inner yard, of course. Jiang Zixio snapped. News of what you've done has already spread throughout the entire Tongtian court. The elders of the inner campus have already discussed it. Given your strength, it's not suitable for you to stay in the outer campus. Now, we'll go with you to complete the procedures to enter the inner campus. Jiang Chen shook his head as soon as he heard that. He knew that the competition in Tongtian court was very cruel and fierce, especially in the inner campus. It was simply a small purgatory. Jiang Chen was living so comfortably in the outer campus that he definitely didn't want to go to the inner campus. Although Jiang Chen's true combat strength could be said to be unbelievably strong, why would he give up such a good life and go to the inner campus? The great elder of the inner campus has personally given the order. You can either go to the inner campus or leave Tongtian court, Prince said. I'll leave then, Jiang Chen said softly. I didn't have anywhere to go before, but now I have plenty of places. Not to mention anything else, if Jiang Chun left Tongtian court now, he could go to Zhou Prefecture, or even the Great Void Race and the Jiang clan. At the very least, he could pretend to be pitiful and return to Katsura Matsuda and the others. As for Tongtian court, it didn't matter if Jiang Chun stayed or not. The inner campus of Tongtian court is the real Tongtian court, Prince explained. Although the competition inside is fierce, there are also many opportunities, especially the dojo left behind by that person. There are endless mysteries inside, and only those who have been there know how special it is. That person? You mean the person who is suspected to have become an immortal? Jiang Chun was immediately excited. As everyone knew, the highest cultivation in the world was the extraordinaire. The strongest among the extraordinaire was the so-called invincible being. However, there was such a legend that a peerless powerhouse had once appeared in the great wide world. It was suspected that he had surpassed the realm of the extraordinaire and reached a legendary realm, and that realm was called immortal by later generations. However, that was just a legend. That person disappeared after breaking through, and no one knew where he went. There were even more rumors that said that person did not manage to take the final step and was unable to persevere through the final breakthrough, causing his soul to scatter and disappear from the world. However, one thing was undeniable. That person was extremely strong. Some people even guess that if that person and the invincible being of the ancestral realm were to fight, it would be hard to say who would win. The path of cultivation is long and endless. Some people reach a bottleneck in their cultivation and can no longer advance, but that doesn't mean that the path of cultivation has come to an end. It means that their personal path has come to an end. If you want to go further, you need to explore. The law and order in the dojo left behind by that person can allow people to continuously break through. Jiang Zixio explained, even if you don't encounter a bottleneck, you can quickly break through and cultivate in that dojo. The speed of cultivation is not something you can imagine. The most important thing is that there is a stone book in that dojo. No one has been able to open it since ancient times. Some people say that the stone book might be that person's inherited cultivation method, and some people think that the stone book records things about immortals. Prince said, no matter what, it's worth entering the inner campus and going to that dojo to take a look. Jiang Chen's interest was piqued by their words. However, Jiang Chen was also very clear that the price of entering the inner campus was very high. Once he entered the inner campus, he would have to face the top geniuses of the entire Eastern Star region and even other star regions. The combat power of that group of geniuses really couldn't be measured by the eyes of ordinary people. As geniuses, it was natural for them to compete with each other, and it was easy for them to fight to the death. With my current cultivation after entering the inner campus, I'm afraid I'll have to keep a low profile again. Jiang Chen sighed. Jiang Chen didn't want to keep a low profile after defeating Zhou Xuandao. But now, he felt that it was necessary for him to continue keeping a low profile. Of course, Jiang Chen might not understand the meaning of the word keep a low profile. Okay, then I'll go to the inner campus. I'll keep a low profile then. If that doesn't work, the two of you can help me. Jiang Chen said. When he said that, Prince and Jiang Zixio blushed slightly. With your combat power, you still need us to help you? Big brother, once we enter the inner campus, the two of us from the evil race can't even protect ourselves. That, as long as we keep a low profile, it'll be fine. Don't cause trouble after we enter, Jiang Zixio said seriously. That's right. The three of us don't have high cultivation or strong strength. After entering the inner campus, we'll have to keep a low profile. Prince nodded. Jiang Chen also nodded. However, with the three of them together, the meaning of the word keep a low profile would be distorted. Chapter 1183. The procedure to enter the inner yard was very simple. They just had to inform the elders and exchange the outer yard token for the inner yard token. Then, the three of them entered the inner yard. However, after entering the inner yard, Jiang Chen and the other two were a little confused. This was because the elders left after they entered the inner yard without saying a word. They did not even arrange accommodation for them. Does this mean that we've entered the inner yard of Skyspan Garden? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. I think so. Prince looked at the inner yard token in his hand, also dumbfounded. I think I've heard that after entering the inner yard, you have to rely on yourself for everything, Jiang Zixio muttered. As for accommodation, I think we all stay in the cultivation rooms. Let's take a look at the cultivation rooms first then, Jiang Chen suggested. The inner yard was very big, but there were very few people. After all, anyone who could enter the inner yard was a top-notch prodigy. To put it simply, Jiang Chen could suppress godly kings and even godly venerables outside as a lower-ranked chief god, but he could not do so in the inner yard. The inner yard disciples all had formidable combat strength. It was already very rare to be able to fight someone one level above them in the inner yard. In the inner yard, Jiang Chen and the other two had to keep a low profile. For example, right now, Jiang Chen and the other two could not find the cultivation room, so they stopped someone on the way. After that, the three of them asked for directions very politely. In the end, the other party gave them the cold shoulder, looking rather aloof and arrogant. In the end, the three of them subdued him and dragged him to a small forest at the side. They only let him go after threatening him. Of course, the three of them did not kill him or injure him. To Jiang Chen and the other two, this was keeping a low profile. Sigh. It's different from the outer yard. We really have to keep a low profile in the inner yard. We can't just hit people casually, Prince said with a sigh. Sigh. I'm hungry too, Jiang Zixia muttered. Jiang Chen also looked emotional. After entering the inner yard, they had to think twice before even hitting someone. Fortunately, they managed to find out the location of the cultivation room. Soon, the three of them entered the hall of the cultivation room. The cultivation room was not big, only the size of a football field. There were not many cultivation rooms inside, only 100 in total. However, these 100 cultivation rooms were all occupied, and some people were even in closed-door cultivation all year round. Fellow cultivator, the cultivation rooms are all full. What should we do if we want a cultivation room? At this moment, Prince saw that there were also a few youths in the hall waiting for the people in the cultivation room to come out. He couldn't help but walk up and ask curiously, "You want to go in?" "Simple, we just have to fight our way in." That person said, "There is no limit to the number of times you can use the cultivation room here, nor is there a time limit. As long as you can occupy it, you can keep using the cultivation room." "Oh, does this mean that I can snatch it by force?" Jiang Zixia was stunned, and he thought to himself that the rules of the inner court were really simple and violent. However, Jiang Chen and the others were also worried. Forcefully rushing to repair the refining room, there was bound to be a fight. It would be fine if he could win, but if he couldn't, they heard that there were people dying in the inner courtyard almost every day. "What are you all standing here for? Why don't you go and rob?" Jiang Chen looked at those people and asked, "Peace breeds wealth. How can we fight if we can solve it with money?" "Exactly." Many people around nodded. They were waiting here not because they couldn't get a cultivation room, but because they didn't want to fight. After all, once they fought, a feud would be formed. In the cruel competition in the inner courtyard, once a feud was formed, it would definitely be a fight to the death. Can it be solved with money? Source crystal? Jiang Chen asked. Of course, someone said, as long as there is enough source crystal, someone will give up the cultivation room. Oh, so simple? Then it's easy. At this moment, Jiang Chen and the others looked at each other, their eyes full of confidence. Jiang Chen didn't know how many rare treasures he had now. He only knew that there were so many that he couldn't use them all. Prince and Jiang Zixia were disciples of the two major evil clans. Their status in the evil clans was not ordinary. How could they not have some source crystal on them? In this way, this source crystal was not a problem for them at all. As long as you shout here and name a price, the people in the cultivation room will come out if they agree, someone said. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Jiang Chen shout at the top of his voice. There is not much source crystal, but there are 10 rare treasures. Top grade. Change to another cultivation room. However, after Jiang Chen said this, the cultivation room was silent. No one paid attention to him at all. 3 breaths later, a person in a cultivation room threw out a sentence. 10 top-grade heavenly materials and rare treasures? Are you trying to dismiss a beggar? Is it too little? Jiang Chen was stunned. 10 rare treasures were not too little, right? Ahem. Based on the fact that 1 rare treasure is equivalent to 1 source crystal, if you want to change to another cultivation room, you need at least 100 of them. Someone looked at Jiang Chen with a strange expression. When they discovered Jiang Chen's cultivation level, their expressions became strange. Jiang Chen did not notice their expressions and said again, 100 top-grade rare treasures in exchange for a cultivation room. Does anyone want to trade? Me. At this moment, someone answered. Then, a demon youth covered in scales walked out of a cultivation room. He heard the voice and came over. Soon, he walked up to Jiang Chen and said, 100 top-grade rare treasures in exchange for my cultivation room. One day. What? One day? Are you robbing me? Jiang Chen was anxious. This was too expensive. TSK, what are you pretending to be if you don't have money? Go outside and cultivate. Oh, I thought you were rich. That's it? Around them, many people sneered. At first, they thought Jiang Chen was rich. They did not expect him to find his price too expensive. Keep a low profile. I have to keep a low profile. I can't lower myself to their level. Jiang Chen kept comforting himself. Then he smiled and said, "Then, if my cultivation room is robbed in one day, what should I do? For one day, I will guard the door of the cultivation room. I will help you block anyone who tries to rob you, unless I can't stop them," the demon youth said. "Okay." Jiang Chun was also happy. As if to slap the faces of those who mocked him, Jiang Chun took out 300 top-grade rare treasures in one go. There was no lack of spiritual herbs, divine flowers, and elixirs. 300? 3 days, Jiang Chun said. "You are good." The monster youngster nodded. He glanced at Jiang Chun in surprise, but he didn't say anything. However, many people's eyes turned green when they saw the rare treasures Jiang Chun took out. Chapter 1184. Those who could enter Heavenly Garden were all geniuses, but that didn't mean they were rich. Under normal circumstances, the exchange for a cultivation room would only last for one day. Very few people would buy a cultivation room for 3 days straight like Jiang Chun. One had to know that 3 days' time meant 300 origin crystals. Although the disciples of the inner yard of Heavenly Garden had some money on them, it was only a few thousand source crystal. How could they be willing to spend so much? "Kid, you're quite rich." Someone's eyes shone with greed, not hiding his greed at all. "I don't have anything else, but I'm rich," Jiang Chun said with a smile, then looked at the demon youth and asked, "Can I go in now?" "Yes, I'll guard you outside for 3 days." The demon youth nodded, but when he looked at Jiang Chun, there was a hint of confusion in his eyes. At this moment, seeing how easily Jiang Chun had exchanged for a cultivation room, Prince and Jiang Zixio didn't want to be left behind. Then the two of them opened their mouths and exchanged 300 source crystal for a cultivation room. At this moment, the eyes of everyone standing in the hall lit up. These 3 guys are quite rich. The 2 just now, one is Prince of the Great Void Race, and the other is Jiang Zixio of the Jiang clan. They're not to be trifled with. Then the human youth who went in first can be used as a cushion. At this moment, almost everyone had this thought in their minds. Of course, they had been cultivating in the inner yard and didn't know what had happened outside. If they knew, they probably wouldn't have dared to have any ideas about Jiang Chun. However, this wasn't absolute. After all, Heavenly Garden had its own rules. No matter how high your status was, if you died in Heavenly Garden, there was nothing to complain about. "Get out of my way. This person is my prey." After a few breaths, the demon youth guarding the door of Jiang Chun's cultivation room had a fierce look in his eyes. He saw many people walking towards them. They were obviously here to snatch Jiang Chun. "Qing Zhan, we will give you face and will not snatch the cultivation room for the next 3 days. However, if he comes out of the cultivation room after 3 days, don't blame us for being rude. He doesn't understand the principle of not showing off one's wealth. But don't you? Since you've revealed your wealth, you should be prepared to be robbed." There were quite a few people in the surroundings, and their cultivation bases were all in the Divine King realm. However, the auras they exuded were extremely powerful, especially a few of them. The auras of godly kings were comparable to godly venerables. Qing Zhan's face turned gloomy, and he said, "Even if he comes out, he is still my prey." "Qing Zhan, it's not good to eat alone. There's so many people here." Someone said, "Why don't we rob him together? When the time comes, we can divide it equally. That way, we won't hurt our friendship." That's right. One look, and you can tell that this kid is filthy rich. He has a lot of treasures on him. Why don't we split them up? Someone echoed. However, Qing Zhan's attitude was tough. Murderous intent appeared in her eyes, and she said, "I will say this for the last time. Get lost." "You, Qing Zhan, you want to eat alone? Aren't you afraid that you will choke to death?" "Umph. Qing Zhan, let's wait and see." The group of people around seemed to be afraid of Qing Zhan. After cursing a few times, they did not rob him, and they all retreated far away. As for Qing Zhan, she guarded the door of Jiang Chun's cultivation room and waited quietly for him to come out. As long as Jiang Chun came out, she would take action and rob Jiang Chun. However, on the 3rd day, when Jiang Chun was about to come out, she heard Jiang Chun's voice from the cultivation room. "Extend for 3 more days. After saying that, the crowd saw 300 superior heaven treasures being thrown out of the cultivation room. They were like a small hill and landed in front of Qing Zhan. Qing Zhan was stunned when she saw that. She frowned and said, "No, I want to use them myself." After saying that, Qing Zhan pushed the heaven treasures into the cultivation room. There was a rule in the cultivation room. Once Qing Zhan took the heaven treasures, it was equivalent to renewing the lease. By then, Jiangchen would not have to come out, and Qing Zhan would have to guard him for 3 more days. To Qing Zhan, it was not worth it. After all, as long as she robbed Jiangchen, everything that Jiangchen had would be hers. Now, Qing Zhan was not interested in the 300 heaven treasures. After a few breaths, Jiangchen pushed open the door of the cultivation room with a puzzled look. He looked at Qing Zhan at the door and asked, "Why not? Is the price not enough?" "I want to use them myself." "Come out of the cultivation room first," Qing Zhan said. 400 superior heaven treasures for 3 more days. "How about that?" Jiangchen asked. Jiangchen had broken through to the Lord God level for a long time. After a few days of cultivation, he was about to break through. If she asked him to come out now, wouldn't she be interrupting his cultivation process? No, I want to use them myself." Qing Zhan said, "Come out quickly." 500. Jiangchen increased the price. At that moment, Qing Zhan was really tempted. After all, she only needed to guard outside the cultivation room for 3 days, and she could get 500 superior heaven treasures. However, she could see that Jiangchen must have more heaven treasures with him, since he could afford to pay such a price. Thinking of this, Qing Zhan shook her head and said, "Come out." 600. Jiangchen increased the price again. At that moment, Qing Zhan hesitated. She was tempted again. However, before she could say anything, a voice came from the cultivation room opposite her. "It's okay if he doesn't want to renew the lease. Come to me for 603 days. "Oh, that's good too." Jiangchen did not hesitate. Anyway, these things were useless to him. It would be best if he could spend them. However, as soon as he stepped out of the practicing room, he saw Qing Zhan go on a rampage. She threw her palm over at Jiangchen like a millstone. Jiangchen looked serious. He was already on guard. He moved sideways to avoid Qing Zhan's attack. Then he stared at Qing Zhan and said coldly, "Why? Are you interested in my treasures and not renewing the lease? Do you want to take them all away? Don't you know that you should not show off your wealth?" Qing Zhan said coldly, "You're just a lower-rank lord. You should give up resisting. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy." "Qing Zhan, I've made a deal with him. He's my customer now. Do you still want to attack my customer?" At that moment, the door of the cultivation room opposite was opened. Then, a red-haired young man with dragon horns walked out. When he walked over, a terrifying aura spread. Although he was only a higher-ranked divine king, his aura was comparable to a higher-rank ultimate god. "Fire Qilin, Yin Lai. Tis TSK. Yin Lai is a ruthless leader in the inner yard. Qing Zhan is in trouble now." Chapter 1185. There were some rules in the inner yard, especially in the cultivation room. Once both parties reached a deal, both parties had the responsibility to fulfill their obligations. Just like before, when Jiangchen and Qing Zhan reached a deal, Qing Zhan had to guard Jiangchen for 3 days. During this period, if someone wanted to rob Jiangchen of his cultivation room, Qing Zhan had to help Jiangchen unconditionally. As for whether she could stop them or not, that was another matter. Now that the Fire Qilin Yin Lai had reached a deal with Jiangchen, Yin Lai had the obligation to protect Jiangchen. Yin Lai was notorious in the inner yard. As a Fire Qilin, not only was he talented, but his combat power was also extremely powerful. Even Qing Zhan's eyes were filled with fear at this moment. She stared at Yin Lai with an unfriendly look. She knew how powerful Yin Lai was. However, how could he let the duck that was right in front of his eyes fly away, just like that? "Yin Lai, are you going against me?" Qing Zhan said coldly. "Even if I don't rob him today, someone else will rob him in the future. Can't you see that this person has many treasures on him?" It's inevitable that people will fight for him. So what? Yin Lai shrugged his shoulders indifferently and said, since I have made a deal with him, I will guard him for the next few days. After saying that, Yin Lai seemed to be provoking Qing Zhan. He walked to Jiang Chen's side and smiled. Go to the cultivation room. I will guard outside. Let's see who dares to come. You. Qing Zhan's eyes flashed with anger. She stared at Yin Lai, but she did not take action in the end. I want to see how long you can guard him, Qing Zhan said coldly. Yin Lai smiled and said, as long as he pays enough money, I can guard him until he goes bankrupt. Oh? Is there such a thing? Jiang Chen was stunned and asked, how much does it cost to guard him for a day? Are you serious? It seemed that Yin Lai hadn't expected Jiang Chen to ask such a question. After thinking for a while, he said, 100 source crystal for a day. If converted to top-grade heavenly treasures, it would be 100 heavenly treasures to protect you for a day. Oh, what if the person who comes to find trouble with me is stronger than you? Jiang Chen asked. If I can't protect it, I won't charge you. Yin Lai said. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone only heard a rumbling sound. Then a small mountain landed in front of Yin Lai. At this moment, everyone was in a daze, and then their eyes were filled with passion. That was because this small mountain was filled with rare treasures. There were at least 1,000 of them, and they were all of superior quality. You can count it yourself. There should be more than 1,000 items. Just protect me for 10 days, Jiang Chen said. I like to deal with generous people. Yin Lai smiled. He was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Recently, he had reached a bottleneck, and it was difficult for him to break through in a short period of time. Therefore, he had planned to go out for a walk. Coincidentally, he had met Jiang Chen, and this was the perfect time for him to trade the cultivation room. However, he had never thought that he would meet such a rich person by chance. Everyone, I'll be taking his treasures, said Yi Futian. At this moment, the smile on Yin Lai's face disappeared. Then, his expression became serious. He said to the people around him in a serious tone, including the 3 days in the cultivation room and the 10 days in the heavenly treasures, if anyone dares to attack him during these 13 days, they will be my enemy. Yin Lai, although we are afraid of you, you have to know that you are not invincible in the inner yard. Protect him? Can you protect him? He has exposed his wealth. There are many people who are jealous of him. Many people around him spoke. They were angry, but they were also jealous. Hearing this, Yin Lai sneered and said, I am indeed not invincible in the inner yard. However, there are people who are invincible. Hearing this, even Qing Zhan's expression became gloomy. They knew what Yin Lai meant. For a moment, no one said anything. However, when they looked at the cultivation room where Jiang Chen was, the greed in their eyes could not be concealed. Hey, isn't this Yin Lai? Long time no see. At this moment, Prince walked out of the cultivation room and saw Yin Lai. Yin Lai was also stunned for a moment. He sized up the crown prince and asked, when did you enter the inner courtyard? 3 days ago, Prince said. At this moment, Jiang Zixio also walked out of the cultivation room. He looked terrible and said, can you be quiet? How can we cultivate if you are so noisy? After saying this, Jiang Zixio was stunned for a moment because he also saw Yin Lai. Then, Jiang Zixio walked to Yin Lai with a smile. He patted Yin Lai's shoulder and asked, where is your brother? How is he? Pretty good. Yin Qi blinked his eyes. The place where Jiang Zixio's palm had slapped him had a layer of goosebumps. Looking at Jiang Zixio's smile, Yin Lai panicked. He felt that Jiang Zixio wanted to eat him. What's with your expression? With your combat strength, you shouldn't be afraid of me, right? Jiang Zixio's face darkened. He stared at Yin Lai and said, why? We haven't sparred for a long time. Why don't we go out and have some fun? No need. I want to stay here for 13 days to protect a new boy, Yin Lai said. Jiang Zixio and Prince looked at each other. Then, Jiang Chen's gaze fell on the cultivation room where Jiang Chen had been. After looking at it, the two of them immediately understood, the person you want to protect. Did he walk out of this cultivation room? Prince asked. Yes, he was very generous. He bought my cultivation room for 3 days and gave me a lot of treasures to protect him for 10 days, Yin Lai said honestly. Then, Yin Lai chuckled and said, "Luckily, I came out of seclusion in time. Otherwise, Qing Zhan would have taken away all the treasures on that boy." Oh, there was such a thing? Prince and Jiang Zixio were a little confused. They thought to themselves, is Jiang Chun so low-key now? When someone wants to rob you, you don't fight back. Instead, you spend money to hire a bodyguard? This is really low-key. That? The person you want to protect, maybe you are not as powerful as him, Jiang Zixio said with a strange expression. Yin Lai's face darkened when he heard this. He seemed a little angry and said, "He is only a lower master god. Do you think I am not as powerful as him? What a joke." Maybe you are really not as powerful as him. Prince smiled bitterly and said, "Forget it. You will know after a while." Then, the two of them chatted with Yin Lai for a while. After spending some source crystal to renew the payment, they returned to the cultivation room again. At the same time, wisps of black fog had unknowingly appeared in the sky above the training room of the Inner Academy. If one were to take a closer look, they appeared to be many broken clouds. However, they were as black as ink and were slowly gathering at this moment. Chapter 1186. Peace was restored in the cultivation room, but everyone's heart could not calm down. Especially Yin Lai. His heart could not calm down after hearing the conversation between Prince and Jiang Zixio. He was in the Divine King realm, and his fighting prowess could be compared to average divine venerables, while Jiang Chun was only a sovereign god. There was a huge gap between their cultivations, and no matter how monstrous Jiang Chun was, he didn't believe that Jiang Chun was much stronger than him. However, he knew Jiang Zixio and Prince's character. They did not like to lie. Yin Lai frowned as he sat cross-legged in front of Jiang Chen's cultivation room. He kept thinking about this matter. This kid, is there really something strange about him? Not good. Something big has happened. The elder has personally ordered us to inspect the cultivation room. Suddenly, someone hurriedly walked in. Behind him was an elder from the inner court. However, the inner courtyard elder did not say much, and only said, "All ultimate god disciples, come out now." Since the Inner Institute elder had personally spoken, those who had been cultivating in seclusion did not dare to delay and came out of seclusion one after another. After that, the Inner Courtyard elder led the group of ultimate god disciples out of the place. Outside the main hall of the cultivation room, a group of ultimate god disciples stood together. The Inner Courtyard elder stood in front of them with an ugly expression. "Elder, why did you call us out?" someone asked. Everyone was also dumbfounded. "You still have the face to ask?" The Inner Courtyard elder's face was gloomy as he pointed at the sky above the cultivation room and asked, "Who among you is going to undergo the heavenly tribulation?" The heavenly tribulation clouds have been gathering. Don't you know that you have to go to a special area to undergo the heavenly tribulation? If you undergo the heavenly tribulation here, not only will you destroy the cultivation room, you may also hurt the innocent. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other and were all in a state of confusion. They knew their own situation. No one would undergo the heavenly tribulation at this time. "Elder, I just stepped into the ultimate god realm and have just undergone the heavenly tribulation. My cultivation has not broken through yet. How can I undergo the heavenly tribulation again? This heavenly tribulation is not mine." "It's not mine either. Elder, we have been in the inner courtyard for some time and know some of the rules. How can we undergo the heavenly tribulation here?" The group of people explained. However, the inner court elder didn't believe it. He pointed at the tribulation cloud that was still growing and said in a deep voice, "With the power of this tribulation cloud, who else but a supreme god cultivator can attract it? Elder, if you don't believe me, you can check it yourself. It's indeed not time for me to undergo tribulation yet." "That's right. Elder, you're the emperor. Why would we lie to you?" The group of people felt wronged, but their heavenly tribulation had not arrived yet. When the Inner Institute elder heard this, he decisively sent his divine sense down and enveloped everyone. He was checking everyone's aura to see if it had anything to do with the tribulation cloud in the sky. A dozen breaths later, the inner court elder frowned with a strange look on his face. Are all the ultimate God disciples here? They're all here. Since you've personally come, who dares to not be here? Someone said. As soon as he said that, doubt appeared in the eyes of the inner court elder. Was it not the divine Lord's disciples' heavenly tribulation? However, the tribulation cloud's power was clearly at the ultimate God level. Could it be a godly king disciple? The inner court elder said softly, then waved his hand and said, "Go and summon all the godly king disciples in the cultivation rooms." Yes. Soon, the group of ultimate God disciples returned to the cultivation rooms. Within a dozen breaths, all the godly king disciples in the cultivation rooms had been summoned. However, the elder's attitude towards the group of godly king disciples changed. With a smile on his face, he asked, "Who among you is about to undergo the heavenly tribulation? Step forward, and I'll bring you to a designated area to undergo tribulation. I can also stand guard for you." If the tribulation cloud was really attracted by a godly king disciple, that disciple's talent and combat strength were definitely comparable to an ultimate God. A godly king was comparable to an ultimate God. Such a disciple was naturally highly valued by Skyfall Court. However, the group of godly king disciples looked at each other and shook their heads. At that moment, the inner court elder's face completely darkened. You all know the rules of the inner court. If you fight in private and kill someone, the inner court won't care. However, if you break the rules, the inner court won't be merciful. The elder rebuked angrily. "Elder, we won't say anything. You can check it yourself." "That's right. This is ridiculous." Many people were angry that they were called out when they were in the middle of cultivation. Especially those who were at the critical juncture of their breakthrough, they were resentful toward the elder. "If you dare lie, you'll be punished according to the rules," the elder said coldly. Then his divine consciousness shrouded the group. After a dozen breaths, his expression became even more strange. "How is it, elder? We're not lying, right?" "That's right. You're an emperor after all. How dare we lie in front of you?" The elder was puzzled when he heard that. He looked up at the tribulation cloud and thought to himself, "What's going on?" The place where the tribulation cloud appeared was indeed above the cultivation rooms. Then, the person undergoing tribulation must be in the cultivation rooms. However, after checking the godly venerable and godly king disciples, he did not find anyone undergoing tribulation. "Elder, look. The tribulation cloud is still condensing. Its power has already reached the level of a middle-level godly venerable." Someone said, "Could it be an emperor god disciple undergoing tribulation?" "That's right. It should be an emperor god disciple undergoing tribulation. Maybe he's at the critical juncture of his breakthrough. When he completely breaks through, the power of the tribulation cloud will probably reach the level of an emperor god." After checking the godly venerable and godly king disciples, the elder was also guessing if it was really an emperor god disciple undergoing tribulation. Impossible. There's no emperor god disciple in the cultivation rooms. The low-level godly disciples are all cultivating in the training halls. How could they be here? A few godly venerable disciples said. At the same time, the elder's divine consciousness landed in the cultivation rooms. He checked and found that there were no emperor god disciples in the cultivation rooms. Then, what was going on with the tribulation cloud? It can't be him. Suddenly, Prince's expression froze. He looked up at the tribulation cloud and mumbled weakly, "Elder, do you think the Lord's tribulation cloud is this powerful?" Not only the elder, but even the other disciples rolled their eyes when they heard that. How could the Lord's tribulation cloud be this powerful? Are you king blind? Can't you see that the tribulation cloud is still condensing? Its power is almost on par with a middle-level godly god's tribulation cloud. However, at that moment, Jiang Zixu's expression became strange. He glanced at Prince and asked subconsciously, "The person you're talking about, could it be him?" Chapter 1187. Jiang Zixio and Prince thought of the same person at the same time, Jiang Chun. They also told the Inner Academy elders about this. However, although the Inner Academy elders knew that Jiang Chun was extraordinary, they did not believe that a mere lesser chief god could attract an ultimate god-level heavenly tribulation. Let's go. We can't stay here any longer. After a while, the Inner Academy elders' expressions changed drastically because the tribulation cloud in the sky had completely gathered. At this moment, the energy emitted by the tribulation cloud had reached the level of a higher supreme god. Is there anyone else in the cultivation room? Someone asked. There's still Yin Lai, someone said. After saying this, their expressions became strange. This was because they suspected that the heavenly tribulation could be Yin Lai's. What? Yin Lai is still in the cultivation room? Tell him to come out and gather. What is he doing? Is he going to defy an elder's orders? The Inner Academy elder shouted angrily and disappeared from where he was. After a few breaths, he rushed out with Yin Lai, pointed at the tribulation cloud above his head, and said, "Is this yours? I've reached a bottleneck recently and haven't broken through. How can I go through the tribulation?" Yin Lai said, "Everyone in the cultivation room is here." Then the heavenly tribulation, just as everyone was puzzled, someone suddenly said, "No, there's another one." Who? It's the boy who just entered the Inner Academy, the lesser chief god. At this moment, everyone's expressions became strange, especially Yin Lai and Qing Zhan. There was a trace of horror in their eyes. Could it be really him? Boom! At this moment, there was a roar. Lightning flashed in the sky, and there were even great path runes that turned into flames. The tribulation cloud was coming. No one dared to stay there. Even the Inner Academy elders were shocked. The group retreated from the place and watched from afar. After a few breaths, a bolt of lightning struck the main hall of the cultivation room, and an explosion resounded in all directions. At the same time, the cultivation room that had stood in the Inner Academy for 10,000 years collapsed under the tribulation cloud. F***CK. If I had known this would happen, I would have set up a defensive formation around the cultivation room. The inner court elders' face darkened. After all, no one would have thought that someone would undergo tribulation in a cultivation room. This was too much of a trap. Someone is coming out. It's him. Suddenly, many people cried out in surprise. They saw a young man covered in dust, cursing as he rushed out of the cultivation room. F***CK. Heavenly tribulation descends right after breaking through. God, you're really punctual. At the moment, Jiang Qin was cursing under his breath. He had just broken through to middle-rank lord level, and the power in his body had yet to calm down. He had to undergo the heavenly tribulation before he could even relax. What the hell? Is it really him? This is a middle-rank chief god. At this moment, not to mention the group of inner court disciples, even the inner court elders were stunned. Are you kidding me? Why was there another one in the training room? Furthermore, he was an intermediate chief god. Is this heavenly tribulation really his? The inner court elder was stupefied. Even though he was an emperor and had seen many miraculous things, he still found it rather difficult to accept at this moment and was utterly confused. He has never disappointed me before, Jiang Zixio said with a wry smile. Prince also had a strange expression on his face. He thought to himself, didn't you say to keep a low profile after entering the Inner Academy? That's all you've got to keep a low profile? That kid was undergoing tribulation in the cultivation room, and now the entire room has exploded. Even if he survives the heavenly tribulation, the Inner Academy won't let him off. That's a cultivation room that's been around for 10,000 years. Its value is unimaginable. If the cultivation room is rebuilt, Empyrean Gardens' treasury will probably be empty. Many people mocked him. Besides, no one thought that Jiang Chun could succeed in overcoming the tribulation. After all, that was a god-level heavenly tribulation. Hey, wake up! The tribulation is coming. At that moment, Jiang Chun was standing in the air and screaming in his heart. Jiang Chun knew very well that the god-level heavenly tribulation was not a big problem for him. However, If his masters did not help him, he would be severely injured even if he survived the tribulation. What a coincidence! The Emperor's Vine and I have just completed our transformations. The Phoenix Tao soul smiled. The Emperor's Vine and I will bear the burden of the heavenly tribulation for you. The Emperor's Vine spoke as well. It was the first time he had spoken. Oh, you can speak too? That's great. The immortal bird won't be lonely in my world of souls anymore, Jiang Chun said sarcastically. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd saw a huge tree that covered the sky unfold behind Jiang Chun. It was golden in color and had lush branches and leaves. Every leaf was filled with patterns that resembled the great Tao. The branches swayed and the leaves shook. A golden ray of light shot up into the sky and blocked a bolt of lightning that came crashing down. Screech! At the same time, a long screech was heard. The Phoenix Tao soul charged into the heavenly tribulation cloud like a blazing flame. The dark heavenly tribulation cloud suddenly turned red. The crowd felt as if they saw an ancient divine bird stirring up the clouds in the heavenly tribulation cloud without any fear of the heavenly tribulation lightning. That's his Tao soul? That looks like the Phoenix Tao soul. But why is it different from the one depicted in the ancient books? That tree. Why does it look like the world tree? Someone mumbled. Just as the crowd was guessing, Jiang Chun stood calmly in the heavenly tribulation cloud. He had no intention of making a move at all. This was because he could feel that the Emperor's Vine and the Phoenix Tao soul alone could handle the heavenly tribulation. Whoosh! However, suddenly, a green ray of light shot out from the top of his head. It was like a sword ray that cut the heavenly tribulation in half. When the heavenly tribulation was cut in half, the crowd saw a green lotus bloom before it dissipated with the wind. That's it? Can you be any more ferocious? At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Although it was rare to use two Tao souls to go through the heavenly tribulation, they had heard of it before. However, what was that green ray of light? It was like a shocking sword that shattered the heavenly tribulation cloud. Moreover, what was that illusory green lotus? Was that his Tao soul too? Hey, why did you come out? At this moment, Jiang Chen's face was gloomy. The previous cyan light had been launched by the wisp of primal chaos chi, which had turned into the second soul. However, the chaotic aura was very calm and did not react at all. Are you worried that I will fail the heavenly tribulation? It seems like you, three wisps of primal chaos chi, still feel sorry for me, Jiang Chen muttered arrogantly. You, come here. It was at this moment that an inner court elder shouted, pointing at Jiang Chen from afar, and said, Hurry up! Air! Jiang Chen was stunned. He knew who the elder was as soon as he saw the elder's cultivation and attire. Then, he looked at the cultivation room that had turned into ruins. A drop of cold sweat silently flowed in his heart. Chapter 1188. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Chen's performance, but at the same time, a hint of mockery appeared on their faces. Destroying the cultivation room of the inner yard was a major crime. However, when Jiang Chen came to the inner yard elder, the elder's first words were, Are you hurt? For a moment, Jiang Chen felt like he was hallucinating. It was as if the inner yard elder standing before him was the elder he was closest to. As for the people around them, they were already in a mess. Elder, are you kidding me? He destroyed the cultivation room? And that's the first thing you're saying? I'm fine. Jiang Chen came to his senses and pointed awkwardly at the cultivation room that was already in ruins. I didn't do it on purpose. It's fine. It's just a cultivation room, the inner yard elder said with a smile. As long as you're fine. Are you serious? Elder, the cultivation room has been destroyed. Ignoring the fact that it'll affect our cultivation speed in the future, just this loss alone. Aren't you going to settle the score with him? That's right. Aren't you being too biased? Many people spoke up. Wasn't the inner yard elder's attitude toward Jiang Chen a little too much? Cultivation depends on one's hard work. It has little to do with the cultivation room. The inner yard elder said, Every disciple who enters the inner yard is someone who can do whatever they want. The inner yard cares more about disciples than cultivation rooms. However, not many people believed him when he said that. Many people had been in the inner yard for a long time and knew just how serious some of the rules were. For someone like Jiang Chun, who had destroyed the cultivation room, even if it was not a capital offense, crippling his cultivation would be the very least. But now, nothing had happened. Elder, I rushed out as soon as I broke through. I really didn't do it on purpose, Jiang Chun said with an aggrieved expression. It's fine, it's fine. As long as you're fine, the elder said, the cultivation room can be rebuilt. Biased, blatant favoritism. Everyone criticized in their hearts, but in reality, they all knew that the elder was just cherishing talent. He was an intermediate-ranked chief god who could attract a god-level heavenly tribulation and even survive it safely. Based on this alone, Jiang Chun was worthy of the inner yard's favoritism and heavy nurturing. However, they didn't expect that the elder would come so openly. Do we not care about our reputation? The cultivation rooms will be rebuilt during this period of time. Find a place to stay and wait until the cultivation rooms are rebuilt. Then, a smile appeared on his face. He looked at Jiang Chun and said, You can go to the dojo to cultivate. When these words came out, everyone was dumbfounded. One had to know that only the best of the best were allowed to enter the dojos of the inner court. Moreover, there was a requirement for one's cultivation level. One had to be at least an ultimate god. Meanwhile, Jiang Chun was merely a middle-rank lord. What right did he have to enter the dojo to cultivate? Elder, what you're doing is a little against the rules. Exactly. Not only did he just enter the inner court, he even destroyed the cultivation room. Not only did you not punish him, you even allowed him to cultivate in the dojo. How do you expect us to feel? Many people spoke up one after another. They were truly infuriated by the elder's actions. Who's the elder? The elder rebuked angrily. If you're unhappy, go look for the dean. Don't harp on about it here. With that, the elder took out a token and handed it to Jiang Chun. He said, With this token, you can enter and leave the dojo at will. But remember, the competition in the inner court is brutal. If this token is gone, I won't get it back for you. Jiang Chen's hands suddenly trembled when he heard that. He secretly thought that this thing was really a hot potato. He knew what the elder meant. Giving him this token in front of so many people and saying something like that was clearly encouraging everyone to snatch him. Previously, Jiang Chen's display of wealth had already attracted many people's jealousy. Now that he had this token in his hands, Jiang Chun felt like he was already the target of everyone. Elder, can I not take this token? Jiang Chun asked. I'm giving it to you. Can you not take it? The elder's expression turned serious and said, Don't worry and keep it. With that, the elder patted Jiang Chun's shoulder and left just like that. At this moment, Jiang Chun looked at the token in his hand and then looked at the people around him. His expression was already very dark. This token? Who wants it? I'll give it to you, Jiang Chun said hurriedly. He looked at the group of inner court disciples, especially those godly, venerable ranked disciples, whose eyes were all shining with greed. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chun directly threw the token out. Mine? Get lost. This is mine. At this moment, no one paid attention to Jiang Chun anymore. The group of people rushed toward the token like crazy. However, those who dared to fight for the token were the few with the highest cultivation in the group. They were all godly, venerable rank. As for the others, they knew they could not snatch it, but they did not do so. However, after watching for a while, these people's eyes fell on Jiang Chun again. Kid, we can't snatch the token that leads to the dojo, but the treasure's on you. So what if you can pass the godly, venerable rank heavenly tribulation? True battle prowess comes from fighting. At this moment, dozens of godly kings surrounded Jiang Chun. Their eyes were filled with greed. Everyone, he's the representative of the Jiang clan. His existence is equivalent to the Jiang clan's clan leader. Do you really dare to snatch him? Jiang Zixio hurriedly said. He's also the highest consecrator of the Great Void race, Prince said in a low voice. However, this was Heavenly Garden. There were rules here. In this place, even a dragon had to bow down. No matter how high one's status was outside, it was the same here. It was equal. Prince Jiang Zixio, are the two of you stupid? Don't you know this is Heavenly Garden? Even if we kill him here, it won't matter. The Heavenspan Mansion will back us up. Everyone snorted. They did not care about Jiang Chen's status at all. At the same time, someone had already made a move. In the blink of an eye, a cold light rushed toward Jiang Chen. How dare you? At this moment, Yin Lai rushed over from the side and blocked the attack for Jiang Chen. At the same time, his aura erupted and flames swirled around him. He had taken Jiang Chen's treasures and reached a deal with Jiang Chen. Now that he calculated the time, he still had to protect Jiang Chen for more than 10 days. If you touch him, Prince, and I won't sit by and do nothing, Jiang Zixio said coldly. You can imagine the consequences of provoking us. I say, a group of people snatching an intermediate chief god's belongings. If word of this gets out, how embarrassing would that be? Everyone here is a famous genius. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Jiang Zixio said softly. If you're so capable, go ahead and snatch it one by one. Chapter 1189. Everyone present was proud and arrogant. If they were to gang up on a middle-rank lord, it would be a joke if word got out. Moreover, no matter how many treasures Jiang Chen had, they would not get much if they were to share them among themselves. Many of them nodded to themselves as they thought of this. They felt that they could not rob Jiang Chen together. When this person entered the inner courtyard, I was the first person he dealt with. Now, I'll be the first one to attack. Does anyone have any objections? At this moment, Qing Zhan walked out and glanced at the group of people around. She was neither humble nor arrogant. She was not afraid that this group of people would disagree. This was because she knew very well that even if she were to rob Jiang Chen of his treasures, she would have to share some of them. Otherwise, some of the bosses would not agree. Moreover, her ability was above average among this group of people. She would be the first one to test Jiang Chen's ability. Qing Zhan, I have to say this first. You can't handle all the treasures on him alone. That's right. Weigh it yourself. Take as much as you can. Don't choke. A few young men who were more powerful than Qing Zhan spoke one after another. This was also a warning to Qing Zhan. Of course, Qing Zhan understood this. She nodded slightly and locked her gaze on Jiang Chen. Now that so many people are watching, no one will bully me. Qing Zhan said, Do you dare to fight with me? Of course. Jiang Chen chuckled and said, But if I lose, all the treasures on me will belong to you. What if you lose? Won't you have to give anything in return? If I lose, all the source crystal on me will belong to you. Qing Zhan said in a deep voice, so many people are watching. I, Qing Zhan, will do whatever I say. Oh, from what you've said, you seem to be very confident in your ability. Jiang Chen teased. After saying that, Jiang Chen waved his hand to the surroundings and said, Everyone, please make way. Make some space for me and him to fight. As soon as he finished speaking, the group of people stepped back and left an empty space for Jiang Chen and Qing Zhan. Boom! At that moment, Qing Zhan took the initiative to attack. When she struck with her palm, there seemed to be a dragon pattern floating on her palm. At the same time, a dragon's aura erupted, as if the sky was collapsing. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand this pressure at all. However, this was nothing to Jiang Chen. Dragon aura? You probably don't know how strong Long Dade's dragon aura is, right? You seem to be teasing me, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. He dashed out and threw a punch. His whole arm looked like it was made of gold. Boom! With a loud explosion, Qing Zhan's palm print was directly shattered. Even the dragon pattern in the palm print was shattered into powder. At the same time, Jiang Chen's momentum did not decrease, and he directly ignored the dragon's might. In an instant, under the crowd's shocked gazes, they saw Jiang Chen dashing up to Qing Zhan. Then he pressed his palms down. The shadows of a dragon and a tiger appeared at the same time. There was even the shadow of an immortal bird falling from the sky. Boom! There was another explosion. This time, Qing Zhan was blasted into the ground. Her entire body was twisted. Her fingers were still twitching slightly, and she had no strength to get up. So fast, so strong. At that moment, many people exclaimed. The battle had just begun, but it ended so quickly. A middle-rank lord has such combat power. He can't be underestimated, someone said in a low voice. His eyes were shining, as if he wanted to see through everything about Jiang Chun. However, Jiang Chen's body was shrouded in the aura of chaos. Even if an emperor came, he would not be able to see through him. At that moment, Jiang Chen walked to the front of Qing Zhan. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly, and with a hint of mockery, he said, "Hand over the source crystal on you." I cough. Qing Zhan was lying on the ground. All the bones in her body were shattered, and she could not get up in a short time. As she spoke, she kept coughing up blood. Her head was in a daze from the shock. Jiang Chun could not be bothered with her. After taking off Qing Zhan's space ring, he emptied the source crystal inside. After that, Jiang Chun smiled. His face was slightly red, as if he was shy and reserved. He looked at the others and asked, "Who else wants to try?" As he spoke, Jiang Chun deliberately took out a large pile of rare treasures. They landed in front of everyone like Wakako Mountain and said, "If you can defeat me, these are all yours." As the saying goes, birds die for food and humans die for wealth. Even though this group of geniuses was used to seeing treasures, they were tempted at that moment. Immediately, another person walked out. His cultivation level was at the level of a lower ultimate god. His aura was extremely terrifying. He stood there like a dragon. "Be careful. This is an ultimate god," Yen Lai reminded. "You've just become a middle lord. Take it easy." You should remind him to take it easy. Don't let him be crippled by Jiang Chun, Jiang Zixio said impatiently. Previously, Jiang Zixio had seen with his own eyes how Jiang Chun suppressed Zhou Xuandao. That posture, that combat power, he could be said to be an invincible king. "Kid, if I win, the source crystal you took from Qing Zhan just now will also belong to me." The young man raised his eyebrows. His eyes were shining with confidence. Those who could enter the inner yard of Tontian Garden were all geniuses. Their combat power was so strong that it could not be measured by the eyes of ordinary people. The young man thought that no matter how strong Jiang Chen was, it would be difficult for him to cross 2 levels. People nowadays are full of confidence before the fight starts. After the fight starts, I guess it's like falling from heaven to hell, Prince muttered. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen raised his hand, and a surge of divine power shot up into the sky. Then, a palm print suddenly appeared in the sky. That was Jiang Chen's tidal special ability. In the palm, divine light was dazzling and carried with it a vast and mighty aura. There were also obscure great Tao runes bobbing up and down. As the palm landed, the young man stood up and threw a punch. Blood energy shot up into the sky. However, when the fist and palm collided, everyone only heard an explosion. Then, they saw that Jiang Chen's palm had suppressed the other party. One move! What's that? It doesn't look like a divine skill or a Tao skill. Everyone exclaimed. They had never seen such a powerful move. It's a tidal special ability. Someone understood everything and exclaimed. However, they were even more puzzled. Even a heaven-grade tidal special ability was probably not that powerful. At that moment, Jiang Chen walked up to the young man and took out his spatial ring with a smile. Then, he emptied it. Is there anyone else? Then, Jiang Chen looked at the others. Not only was there no fear in his eyes, but there was also a trace of anticipation. However, the power that Jiang Chen had displayed in the 2 consecutive battles was too terrifying. For a moment, no one dared to fight. Chapter 1190. The group of people with the highest cultivations were fighting for the tokens to enter the training ground. Although the remaining people were very strong, they were also afraid of Jiang Chen. It would be good if they won. Everything that belonged to Jiang Chen would belong to them. However, if they lost, not only would they lose their source crystal, but they would also lose their reputation. After all, these people's cultivations were much higher than Jiang Chen's. If they lost to Jiang Chen, How could they maintain their reputation? Since no one is fighting, then today's matter is over, Jiang Chun said softly. However, just as he finished speaking, a high-level supreme god rushed down from the sky. Without saying anything, he threw a punch at Jiang Chun. This person had also been fighting for the training ground token. Seeing that there was no hope, he simply came to snatch the treasures on Jiang Chen's body. However, just as this person attacked, Prince, Jiang Zixio, and Yin Lai attacked at the same time and stopped him. What? You want to fight? Yin Lai raised his eyebrows and said coldly, I took his money. Naturally, I have to protect him. Before you touch the highest consecrator of the Great Void Race, think carefully. I'm not the only one from the Great Void Race in the inner yard of Tong Tian Garden. Prince said. Jiang Zixio also had a look of contempt and said, if you're really determined to fight, we won't stop you. However, if you dare to take half a step out of Tong Tian Garden in the future, we'll eat your flesh and drink your blood. Once these words were said, the high-level supreme god youth's expression immediately darkened. He knew that there was another person from the Great Void Race in the inner yard. That person was stronger than Prince and was now cultivating in the training ground. Similarly, there was another person from the Fire Qilin clan who was also cultivating in the training ground. That person was Yin Lai's elder brother. Not to mention these two things. Just Jiang Zixio's words were enough to make this person afraid. One had to know that not every force could be fearless of the evil race. Especially now, looking at the situation, the two evil races, who were old enemies, seemed to have signs of an alliance because of Jiang Chen alone. We're not the only ones in the inner courtyard, the young man said coldly. You can protect him for now, but you can't protect him forever. Not everyone will be afraid of you evil races. Many people spoke sarcastically, but none of them made a move. After all, the prince and Jiang Zixio had stepped forward to support Jiang Chen. This was a bit too much of a deterrent. Moreover, there was now Yin Lai. I'll give you the command medallion. From now on, if there's nothing important, don't bother me, Jiang Chen said softly, feeling a headache coming on. He knew that after today's incident, he probably wouldn't have a peaceful life in the inner court in the future. After all, the inner court wasn't limited to just these few people. Not a single one of the truly powerful experts of the inner yard was here. In the end, Jiang Chen's group left, and the others didn't chase after them. The inner court was originally very big, with continuous mountains and rivers, and there were also palaces. Jiang Chen's group casually found a mountaintop, built a few simple wooden houses, and planned to stay here temporarily. After all, the cultivation room was destroyed, and now they really had to find a place to settle down. Speaking of which, what's the situation with that training hall? Why do those people desperately want to enter the training hall to cultivate? Jiang Chen asked. Jiang Chen already knew some things about the training hall, and it was related to immortals. However, if it was only because of this, Jiang Chen felt that those people didn't need to risk their lives to go to the training hall. There's an ancient, profound spirit formation in the training hall. Not only can it condense heaven and earth origin energy, but it can also condense great Tao law, and even some supreme rules of order. Yin Lai explained. This will be of great help to future cultivation. After becoming a divine king, if you want to cultivate further, you need to split open the sky. Jiang Zixio said, it's difficult for an ordinary person to succeed in splitting open the sky 10 times, especially after becoming a divine venerable. If you want to step into the divine emperor realm, you have to split open the sky 9 times. And the key to splitting open the sky is to comprehend enough great Tao law and even rules of order. Otherwise, don't even think about splitting open the sky. Hearing this, Jiang Chen felt the same. In his previous life, when Jiang Chen was in the divine world of the 9 heavens, his cultivation had reached the upper divine king, so he wanted to split open the sky and break through the shackles. However, when he was splitting open the sky, Jiang Chen was besieged to death by 36 divine kings, so until now he hadn't really succeeded in splitting open the sky. Moreover, the sky of the 6 realms was already incomplete. A long time ago, the 6 realms were destroyed, and 5 realms were destroyed, leaving only the sky of the divine world of the 9 heavens. In this way, in the divine world, even if one succeeded in splitting open the sky and stepped from a divine king to a divine venerable, in essence, they were not considered divine venerable. This also caused the cultivators of the six realms to be generally weaker than those of the great thousand world. It was because the six realms only needed to split open a sky, but the great thousand world needed to split open the sky of the entire world. One can break through by splitting open the sky of the six realms. And in the great thousand world, the strength and foundation needed to split open the sky is simply unimaginable. Jiang Chen thought. Jiang Chen also knew that the key to success in splitting open the sky was how much one comprehended the great Tao law and rules of order. If one comprehended more, they would naturally understand the sky, which was equivalent to finding the key, and splitting open the sky would naturally be much easier. If one comprehended less, it would be equivalent to blindly bumping around, unless one's strength was really too strong. Otherwise, it would be difficult to split open the sky. Look at this inner yard. In fact, there are many upper divine venerables. Some even stepped into upper divine venerable 100 years ago. Yin Lai said, but they don't comprehend much great Tao law and rules of order, so it's difficult for them to break through. For those people, they can only break through further by entering the dojo to cultivate. At this moment, Jiang Chen could be considered to be relieved. However, Jiang Chen's current cultivation level was only that of a middle-rank lord, far from an upper divine king. Even if he went to the dojo to cultivate now, it would not be of much use. However, it would naturally not be bad to prepare early. However, he did not have the token now, and Jiang Chen's cultivation level was not enough to enter the dojo to cultivate. If I had known that the dojo was so mysterious, I would have kept the token for myself, Jiang Chen muttered. However, this was just a casual remark. With Jiang Chen's current strength, under the circumstances just now, there was no way he could have kept the token. After all, those godly venerables disciples in the inner yard were not easy to deal with. There were even people who could shake an ordinary emperor god with the power of a godly venerable. I don't have a token on me, but is there any way to get one? Jiang Chen asked. It's simple. As long as you have money, you can do it. Yin Lai said, those who cultivate in the dojo will come out from time to relax and calm down the emotions brought about by cultivation. When those people come out to relax, as long as you can pay the price, they will lend their tokens to you. Oh, it's that simple? Jiang Chen was stunned for a moment, secretly thinking that this vast thousand worlds was really not bad, as anything could be done with money. Chapter 1191. The higher one's cultivation was, the more resources one would need to cultivate. If one wanted to obtain more cultivation resources, one would have to find their own way unless the entire force was devoted to nurturing them. After all, every force would give the best cultivation resources to only one disciple and nurture only one. This way, they would be able to nurture the strongest disciple in the shortest amount of time. Ordinary disciples wouldn't be valued by the forces. Even if they had a high status, as long as they couldn't become a holy son, they would definitely lack cultivation resources. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a force like the Academy to exist in this world. Even the disciples who entered the inner court of Sky Connecting Garden weren't considered holy sons in their respective forces. Therefore, they came to Sky Connecting Garden in order to obtain more cultivation resources. It could be said that in this place, as long as one had money, anything could be done. Let's go. I'll take you to the training ground first. We'll wait there. Yin Lai said, as long as someone comes out, you can discuss with them and make a deal. All right. Jiang Chen nodded. Prince and Jiang Zixio didn't go together. They cultivated on the mountain peak and weren't interested in the training ground. Of course, although they said they weren't interested, it was actually because of their own cultivation and financial resources. The inner court was very big, and the training ground was at the back of the mountain of the inner court. There was dense fog floating in the air and colorful clouds flowing in the air. The power of heaven and earth gathered and turned into a natural barrier. In the depths of the mountain, there was an ancient and dilapidated temple. It was said that before that person disappeared, he last appeared in that ancient temple. The so-called training ground was a radius of 50 meters with the ancient temple as the center. When Jiang Chun and Yin Lai arrived, they were stopped by the guards because they didn't have a token. Of course, even if there were no guards, the natural barrier here was enough to block Jiang Chun's footsteps. "We'll wait here," Yin Lai said. "There will often be people coming out. When the time comes, we'll go and ask." "Okay." Jiang Chun softly nodded. His gaze passed through the layers of fog and locked onto the ancient temple. The gate of the ancient temple had long been dilapidated, and one could see the scenery inside. On the altar of the ancient temple, there was a palm-sized statue. The statue was covered in dust, but there were strands of divine light hidden under the dust. However, the statue was really very ordinary. Perhaps it was because it had been in the dojo for too long that it was tainted with a trace of divine light. However, Jiang Chun had been staring at the statue ever since he arrived. He could clearly see that the statue was made of the most ordinary mud. Of course, this wasn't the main point. Most importantly, there was a familiar aura coming from the statue that Jiang Chun felt. This kind of aura was very weak and could even be said to be nothingness. However, Jiang Chun felt it. This made Jiang Chun feel very strange. It was his first time here, so why did he feel a sense of familiarity towards the statue? Could it be that he had been here in a previous life? That's right. My past lives might not have been in the 6 realms. Perhaps a few of them were in the greater 1,000 realms, Jiang Chun thought to himself. "Are you looking at the statue?" Yin Lai said. "Don't look at it. The emperors of Tong Tian Garden and even the extraordinaries have studied it. It's the most ordinary statue." "I'm just curious," Jiang Chun said softly. "In such an extraordinary place, don't you think it's strange that there's an ordinary statue on the altar?" "It's because it's strange that the emperors and extraordinaries have studied it, but they didn't find anything," Yin Lai said. "Perhaps it was placed there casually by the ancestors." "Oh," Jiang Chun said softly. Was that really the case? Next, the two of them quietly waited outside. It wasn't until a day later that they met a young man who walked out of the dojo. "Yin Lai, I've been meditating inside for a long time. My body and mind need to rest and settle down. You can go in." The young man came in front of Yin Lai and handed him a token. He couldn't help but look at Jiang Chun. "Big brother, this is a new friend of mine. I brought him here to do some business. Let's see if we can borrow a dojo token," Yin Lai said and introduced him to Jiang Chun. It turned out that this person was also from the Fire Qilin clan. He was Yin Lai's elder brother. Yin Senator, his cultivation had reached the lower God Emperor level. A dojo token is very expensive. Moreover, the dojo is quite chaotic. Be careful when you go in, Yin's son reminded him. After saying that, Yinsen didn't say anything to Jiang Chun and just left. "Then this? I'll go in first?" Yin Lai was embarrassed. He was originally accompanying Jiang Chun, but he happened to see his elder brother come out. "It's okay. You go in first," Jiang Chun said. "I'll wait outside." Then Yin Lai entered the Taoist sanctum, while Jiang Chun stood outside, waiting quietly. Time also passed slowly. It wasn't until 3 days later that a young man finally came out. Jiang Chun was also anxious. He hurried over and said, "Fellow Taoist, can I borrow your dojo token? I'll pay." The young man was stunned. He looked at Jiang Chun and couldn't help but frown. He said, "With your cultivation, if you enter the dojo, you can only cultivate in the outermost area. Don't go too deep." "Thank you for the reminder." "Then the price." Jiang Chun rubbed his hands and asked, "What a coincidence. I'm going out for a while. I'll be back in 10 days. This dojo token isn't very useful in my hands. You can decide the price." The young man looked very casual, and his words were also very easygoing. Jiang Chun saw that the young man was very easygoing and couldn't give too little. He couldn't help but ask, 300 source crystal per day? Okay. The young man was stunned. It seemed that he didn't expect Jiang Chun to give such a high price. However, Jiang Chun also told the young man that he didn't have that many source crystal on him. He could only use treasures of equal value to exchange for it. Unexpectedly, The young man waved his hand indifferently and said, "It's okay. Give it to me when you have more." After saying that, he handed the token to Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun held the token and stood in the same place. He was a little confused. What? What was going on? He gave the token to him, just like that. Wasn't this guy too easy to talk to? By the way, if the people inside want to snatch your token, you can say that the token is mine, the young man said. After saying that, the young man's figure flashed and disappeared. At this moment, Jiang Chen's mind was in a mess. Yes, I know that the token is yours, but you didn't tell me your name. How am I supposed to say that? Fortunately, Jiang Chun remembered the young man's clothes and appearance. If he couldn't say his name, he could describe him. Chapter 1192. This young man was very careless. He did not even tell Jiang Chun his name and left just like that. Jiang Chun was stunned on the spot. He was also rather confused. This fellow can't be considered easygoing anymore. He should be very casual, Jiang Chun muttered. Then, Jiang Chun took the token and entered the dojo. Buzz! As soon as he entered the dojo, Jiang Chun's body shook as a terrifying pressure fell on him. This was a pressure unique to the dojo. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand it at all. However, for Jiang Chun, it was fine as long as the pressure did not exceed that of an ultimate god. A middle-rank lord? How did you get in? At that moment, with Jiang Chun's arrival, many people's gazes fell on him. After all, this was a dojo. The minimum requirement to enter was the ultimate god realm. Of course, there were some special ones, such as godly kings who could enter. However, Jiang Chun was the first to have such a low cultivation level. Boy, this is not a place where you can come. At that moment, someone walked over. His cultivation level was a high-level ultimate god. He narrowed his eyes with a mocking expression. There was contempt in his eyes as he said, "I don't care where you got this token. From now on, this token is mine." With that, he extended a hand and waved it in front of Jiang Chun. He said, "Hand it over." "Can we fight here?" Jiang Chun asked. "You can't fight in the dojo," said the young man. When Jiang Chun heard that, a smile appeared on his face. "Since we can't fight, why should I give you the token? You can't fight, but you still want to snatch my token? Is there something wrong with your brain?" Jiang Chun spoke in a low voice, while sizing up the youngster. He was also slightly shocked. This was because not only did this young man have the cultivation level of a high-level ultimate god, but the aura he exuded was not weaker than a low-rank ultimate god or even a middle-rank ultimate god. As expected, those who can enter the dojo are not simple, Jiang Chun thought to himself. At this moment, the young man looked at Jiang Chun as if he was looking at an idiot. After a few breaths, he asked, "Yes, you can't fight, but aren't you afraid that I'll cause trouble for you after you leave the training halls?" "I'm not afraid." Jiang Chun shrugged his shoulders indifferently. He said, "A high-level divine venerable. Your cultivation is indeed much higher than mine, but if we really fight, I don't think I'll lose to you." However, even Jiang Chun himself did not believe these words. After all, he wasn't facing ordinary cultivators, but the strongest group of disciples in Heavenspan Gardens. This group of people, which one of them couldn't jump ranks to battle. Jiang Chun was able to fight against an ordinary ultimate god and even overpower an ultimate god. However, Jiang Chun was not confident he could defeat the young man in front of him. However, as mentioned before, no one was allowed to fight in the training hall. In that case, Jiang Chun was safe for now. Since he was safe, why should Jiang Chun be afraid? As for what would happen after he left, Jiang Chun was too lazy to think about it at this moment. Moreover, this token was not his. It was rented. "I rented this token. Even if you snatch it, the original owner of this token will cause trouble for you," Jiang Chun said. As soon as he said that, the young man was stunned and asked subconsciously, "Who is the original owner of this token?" "Well, I don't know his name." Jiang Chun smiled bitterly, but still described the person's appearance. The young man's expression suddenly changed, and he asked tentatively, "The person you're talking about, does he give off a very casual feeling?" "Yes, you know him?" Jiang Chun asked. "Since it's his token, Then, sorry to disturb you. The young man's face darkened, and he muttered a few times, "What bad luck. It's actually his token." With that, the young man turned and left. This surprised Jiang Chun. He secretly wondered if the original owner of this token was very powerful. It seemed that the young man, who was comparable to a god emperor, was very wary of him. Why are you back? You don't want that middle-rank lord's token? That's cabbage that's delivered to our doorstep. Yeah, that's not like you. At that moment, the people around them saw this and asked the young man one after another. When the young man heard that, he chuckled and said mockingly, "You want it? Go ahead. It's just a middle-rank lord. Since you don't want it, I'll take it." Soon, a higher-rank god walked over. Clearly, he was here to snatch Jiang Chen's token. But this time, Jiang Chen was more straightforward. He described the appearance of the original owner of the token, and then the man left, cursing and swearing. At that moment, many people's expressions became strange. What's going on? You guys aren't usually like this. Now you don't even dare to snatch a middle-rank lord? Someone asked curiously. How? That's Sher Wuchen's token from the Four Extreme tribe. If you can go ahead and snatch it. Moreover, that kid rented the token. According to the rules, since Sher Wuchen made this deal with him, Sher Wuchen has to protect him. The young man from before spoke and revealed the identity of Jiang Chen's token's original owner. When Jiang Chen heard that, he was rather puzzled. The Four Extreme tribe? What tribe was that? Kid, consider yourself lucky to have made this deal with Sher Wuchen. Someone said coldly, with a dark expression. If your token didn't belong to Sher Wuchen, his cultivation is similar to yours. Do you have to be so afraid of him? Jiang Chen asked curiously. You don't know Sher Wuchen? You've heard of the Four Extreme tribe, right? Someone asked. When Jiang Chen heard that, he shook his head. How long had he been in the Great Thousand World? How could he know so much? The Four Extreme tribe is also a part of the evil tribes. Their bodies are very strange. Some look like hands, some like feet. Many people explained. And when the Four Extreme tribes' bodies were mentioned, many people revealed strange expressions. This was because the Four Extreme tribes' bodies were really very unusual. Jiang Chen was also dumbfounded. This Great Thousand World was really full of strange things. Hands and feet could be the body. However, since it was the evil tribe, no matter what their bodies were, Jiang Chen would not find it very strange. After all, the evil tribes were strange to begin with. Looks like you should have just come to the inner court. You don't even know Sher Wuchen. He's a ruthless person. He's usually very casual, but once he gets serious, even a god emperor has to be wary of him. When he heard that, Jiang Chen realized that the token he rented this time could be said to be a treasure. So, what if it's the Four Extreme tribe? Isn't it just as famous as my Jiang clan? At this moment, a rather arrogant voice came from the depths of the training hall. When Jiang Chen heard that, he looked over and happened to see a bald young man in white clothes sizing him up. Chapter 1193. The young man was sitting in the deepest part of the training hall, but he was very close to the ancient temple. At this moment, he was sizing up Jiang Chen. There was no hostility in his eyes, but more curiosity and doubt. After a few breaths, he slowly got up and came to Jiang Chen. The next moment, the young man lowered his head and bowed to Jiang Chen. He said respectfully, "Junior Jiang Danton greets the representative." What? Junior? Representative? At this moment, everyone in the training hall was moved, especially those who were in the deepest part of the training hall. Seeing Jiang Chen so respectful and humble in front of Jiang Dantian, they were confused. Jiang Dantian was famous for being strong in the inner yard. He was not weaker than Sher Wuchen. However, such a strong prodigy of the Jiang clan was bowing to someone respectfully. You don't have to be so courteous. We're the same generation. There's no need to distinguish between juniors and seniors, Jiang Chen said with a smile. He couldn't help but throw Jiang Dantian a few more glances, thinking to himself that this Jiang's kid was pretty strong. Jiang Dantian heard this and immediately got up. He looked at Jiang Chen with some confusion and asked, "That? Representative Jiang, Do you think the 4 extreme race is very strong? Isn't the 4 extreme race strong? Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously. As soon as these words came out, Jiang Dongtian's mood obviously fluctuated. He looked serious and said, Representative Jiang, maybe you don't know much about the evil race, but you only need to know one thing. Among all the evil races, the strongest is my Jiang clan. Oh, so what? Jiang Chen asked, confused. He did not know why Jiang Dongtian emphasized this no reason. I'm just telling you. Jiang Dongtian was also stunned. As the representative of the Jiang clan, did Jiang Chun really not care about the background and strength of the Jiang clan? Also, as the representative, he actually exclaimed about the strength of the other disciples in front of so many people. Was this really appropriate? By the way, since you know who I am, why didn't you do anything when those people tried to steal my token? Jiang Chen stared at Jiang Dongtian. Jiang Dongtian panicked and hurriedly explained, I was trying to confirm your identity. After all, I have never met you before. I only have your portrait. Oh, what about now? Jiang Chun said jokingly. Now that you know those people just now, what do you think we should do? We can't fight here, but if they don't give you an explanation, we can't let this matter go, Jiang Dongtian said in a low voice. As he spoke, his gaze swept across the youths. In addition to the cold, killing intent in his eyes, there was also a ruthless and cold cruelty. At this moment, the 2 youths who wanted to steal Jiang Chen's token changed their expressions. They hurriedly got up and came to Jiang Chen's side. They bowed and apologized profusely. In this regard, Jiang Chun did not care. The reason why he said this was to see if Jiang Dongtian would really obey him. After all, you are disciples of the inner yard. Why are you two so afraid of Jiang Dongtian? Since when did Jiang Dongtian have such authority in the inner yard? Suddenly, a voice full of sarcasm and provocation came from the depths of the training hall. Everyone looked over when they heard that. When they saw the person who spoke, their expressions immediately changed. Even Jiang Dongtian's expression froze. He stared at the person who spoke and said coldly, Han Moyun, what do you mean? Do you want to fight? The person called Han Moyun heard this and closed his eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said with a trace of contempt, Fight? Are you worthy? Do you have the strength? As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chen suddenly felt that Jiang Dongtian's body was erupting with layers of terrifying killing intent. At the same time, the surrounding noise disappeared, and the entire training hall was silent. The atmosphere became very oppressive. It was like the calm before the storm. It was so quiet that it was frightening. You are all from the evil tribe. How can you quarrel? Do you still want to let us cultivate? After a few breaths, in the depths of the training hall, another person spoke. After this person spoke, the atmosphere became much more relaxed. At the same time, Jiang Chun found that Jiang Dongtian and the person called Han Moyun looked at the young man with fear in their eyes. Jiang Chun also looked over. In front of the gate of the ancient temple, there was a young man sitting there with his legs crossed. He was the closest to the ancient temple. There was divine light floating on his body, and there were great way runes flashing. Dragon Tribe, Long Xuanji. This guy's been meditating for a long time. He hasn't spoken for many years. Why did he speak today for Jiang Dongtian and Han Moyun? Many people were puzzled, and they were bewildered. Long Xuanji was from the pure-blood dragon tribe. It was said that he had the bloodline of the ancestor dragon in his body. He was the holy son that all the dragon tribes in the Eastern Star region respected. His cultivation had reached the Emperor God level a few years ago. Now that he was meditating in seclusion, some people felt that Long Xuanji's cultivation should have improved a lot, especially when they saw the divine light and great way runes flashing on his body. It seemed that this guy had comprehended a lot of great way rules and order. Long Xuanji, I thought you were in seclusion and wouldn't wake up in this lifetime. Han Moyun reacted. There was no fear in his eyes. In his words, the unfriendliness was obvious. Do you think you are great just because you are the holy son of all the dragon tribes in the Eastern Star region? If you were not a few years older than me and cultivated earlier than me, your cultivation would be higher than mine. I would have killed you long ago, Zhang Dongtian said coldly. Obviously, Zhang Dongtian and Han Moyuan were not interested in Long Xuanji at all. They were even hostile. When Long Xuanji heard that, he sneered. Then he got to his feet. Under the crowd's surprised gazes, he came up to Jiang Chun. Then he did not speak but kept sizing up Jiang Chun. Long Xuanji, I'm warning you. This is the representative of my Jiang clan. If you dare to touch him, my Jiang clan will not let you off. Zhang Dongtian's face was gloomy. He stood guard beside Jiang Chun, afraid that Long Xuanji would attack Jiang Chun. However, after Long Xuanji took a few glances at Jiang Chun, he frowned and asked, You've seen the ancestor dragon? Yes. Jiang Chun nodded and said. He knew who the ancestor dragon that Long Xuanji was talking about was. Wasn't it Long Dade? You have the aura of the ancestor dragon on you, Long Xuanji said softly. I have a good relationship with him, Jiang Chun said. When he said that, Long Xuanji's eyes flashed and he stared at Jiang Chun, as though he suspected that Jiang Chun was lying. However, after a few breaths, Long Xuanji raised his eyebrows and said, When we get out, I will look for you. I have something to tell you. Chapter 1194. Long Xuanji left after saying that. He did not continue to cultivate in the training hall, but went outside. He stood there quietly, obviously waiting for Jiang Chun to go out. Zhang Dongtian's face was gloomy as he stared at Long Xuanji. He said coldly, After he goes out, if you dare to hurt him, I will do everything I can to make you pay a heavy price. You can't. Long Xuanji was very arrogant, and he was extremely confident. As the holy son of the Dragon Clan in the Eastern Star region, he had absolute strength and confidence. However, if they really fought, it was hard to say who would win. After all, Zhang Dongtian was not someone to be trifled with. He was also one of the top figures in the Jiang clan. On the other side, Han Moyuan glanced at Long Xuanji and then looked at Jiang Chun. Finally, he closed his eyes and did not speak. At that moment, Jiang Chun was confused as to why Long Xuanji wanted to talk to him. Could it be related to Long Dade? He shouldn't make things difficult for me, Jiang Chun thought to himself. He had no enmity with Long Xuanji. The reason why Long Xuanji was waiting for him outside was most likely because he had something important to ask him. Representative Jiang, don't worry. With me around, everything will be fine, Zhang Dongtian said seriously. No matter how strong Long Xuanji is, I have the power to fight with him. It's okay. They shouldn't fight, Jiang Chun said with a smile. Then, Jiang Chun sat down cross-legged and started to comprehend the Great Way rules and rules of order in the periphery of the training hall. After calming down, Jiang Chun suddenly felt a mysterious substance floating around him. When he used his divine thought to sense it, the substance was like runes. However, they were broken, as if someone had broken them. However, each rune exuded a unique aura, as if they were different living beings. Is this the Great Way rules and rules of order? Jiang Chun said softly. These rune fragments were a type of evolution of the Great Way rules and rules of order. However, they were all incomplete. He had to slowly search for them and comprehend them. Then, he had to connect these broken runes together and turn them into complete Great Way rules and rules of order. And this process was very difficult and long. There were 3,000 Great Daos, so there were 3,000 laws and orders. For ordinary people, as long as they could comprehend one of these laws, they would be able to break through the heavens and become a godly king. After that, he would be able to break through the 3 heavens and become a supreme god. Beyond that, there would be 9 strands, which would allow one to become a god emperor. As for how one would become an emperor after becoming a god emperor, it was hard to say. However, there was one thing that was certain. If one wanted to become an emperor god, it was not as simple as comprehending the order of laws. Otherwise, if a person could live long enough and slowly grind away, he could also become an emperor. Time passed slowly as Jiang Chun continued to comprehend. It was unknown how much time had passed. It seemed like an instant, but it also seemed like endless years. At that moment, Jiang Chen saw the runes around him suddenly condense. Upon closer inspection, these runes looked like a drop of blood, but they also looked like a fleshly body that was constantly changing. As for Jiang Chen, he was very familiar with one of the runes. This was the Grand Tao Law he had comprehended when he first became a God King. Strength. One had to know that in his previous life, Jiang Chen had comprehended the law of strength. And in his previous life, the path that Jiang Chen walked was also what ordinary people called the path of breaking all laws with one force. Now, although he had reincarnated, the Grand Tao Law that he had comprehended in his previous life was still there. As long as he comprehended it a little, he would be able to find the law of strength. In the Nine Heavens divine realm, one only needs to open one day to achieve something. However, in this boundless world, one needs to open the entire boundless world's geniuses, Jiang Chen thought to himself. In this way, perhaps this law of strength could allow Jiang Chen to step into the position of a God King, but it would definitely not allow him to step into the position of a God Venerable. It was only by comprehending more worldly principles that Jiang Chen would be able to go further and become stronger. Shuiyun, phantom of a physical body. How long has he comprehended the law of strength? This speed monstrous? At that moment, Jiang Chen was still comprehending, but the training hall was in an uproar. Many people were stunned. One had to know that Jiang Chen had only been in meditation for an incense stick's time. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he had comprehended the law of strength. This speed was rare and rare. Of course, what they did not know was that Jiang Chen had already comprehended the law of strength in his previous life. Huh? What is this? Is that light? No, it's the law of speed. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn had passed, the crowd suddenly saw many runes floating around Jiang Chen's body like clouds and mist. The light was like a river of time, jumping out of Jiang Chen's body, flashing as if it was shuttling through the void of time. This was speed, the law of speed. At that moment, although Jiang Chen did not wake up, he was still shocked. This was because he did not put in much effort to comprehend the law of speed. It was as if the law of speed had appeared on its own and merged with him. Everything was so strange, yet so simple and normal. This made Jiang Chen very confused. Why did the law of speed suddenly appear? Could it be that in my previous life, I comprehended the law of speed in one of my previous lives? Jiang Chen thought that should be the case. If that was the case, did it mean that Jiang Chen did not have to cultivate deliberately as long as he stayed in the training hall, and the law that he comprehended in his previous life would appear on its own? Thinking of this, Jiang Chen could not help but feel excited. The law of technique. Oh my God, what is this? In the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he comprehended 3 laws. After another incense stick's time, as Jiang Chen expected, the 3rd law of technique appeared on its own. However, following the appearance of the law of technique, Jiang Chen clearly felt that something was wrong with his body. Cracks appeared on his physical body, and even his soul was trembling. Obviously, with his current cultivation level, he could not accommodate so many laws at the same time. Suppress. At that moment, Jiang Chen hurriedly woke up. He formed a seal with both hands and sealed the law of technique in his soul. Only then did his physical body and soul recover. Everyone around him stared at Jiang Chen with their eyes wide open. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he had comprehended 3 laws. How many people in history could compare to this kind of comprehension ability? No wonder the clan leader made him the representative of the Jiang clan. This person is too extraordinary. He has the bearing of a great emperor. Jiang Dongtian exclaimed in his heart. Even though he had extraordinary talent and was ranked among the top in the inner yard, compared to Jiang Chen, his talent was nothing. Even Long Xuanji, who was standing outside the training hall, widened his eyes. He did not expect that there would be such a person in this world who could comprehend 3 laws in the time it took for an incense stick to burn. Ahem, everyone, Did I disturb you? Jiangchen coughed a few times. He wanted to keep a low profile, but in the end, fellow cultivator, if you need any help in the inner yard in the future, feel free to ask. Fellow cultivator, I see that we are fated to be friends. At that moment, many people threw out olive branches, wanting to rope in Jiangchen. After all, as long as someone like Jiangchen did not die prematurely, he would definitely become a powerful figure in the future. Chapter 1195. He had comprehended 3 laws in the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn. Not many people could compare to his speed and talent. All of the people in the Taoist sanctum were geniuses. They had already given Jiangchen a lot of face by humbling themselves and trying to win him over. However, there were also many people who chose to remain silent. They even looked at Jiangchen with killing intent in their eyes. They were all geniuses. Everyone wanted to stand at the top and become invincible. No one was willing to see someone stronger than them, let alone let them grow. I've been a little high profile this time. Jiangchen sighed. If he had known this would happen, he would have stopped when he comprehended the second law. However, since things had already happened, he had to face it. Running away was definitely not a solution. Fellow Taoist, do you know that it's not a good thing to show off? At this moment, a youth spoke. The hostility and killing intent in his words were not concealed at all. At the same time, after the youth spoke, Jiangchen immediately felt many murderous gazes looking at him from all directions. At this moment, Jiangchen knew that he had gotten into big trouble this time. Jiangchen fell silent. He thought for a long time and finally laughed bitterly. He muttered to himself, since I've gotten into big trouble, then what's the harm in making it bigger? Perhaps a miracle will happen. With that thought, Jiangchen could not be bothered with the people around him. He sat down cross-legged on the spot again. After calming down, Jiangchen began to comprehend the great Tao laws and laws again. Just like before, after Jiangchen started meditating, he didn't spend much time comprehending it, but he managed to comprehend another great doctrine law. And the time was the same as before. It only took an incense stick's worth of time. This another incense stick's worth of time? How'd he do it? Monster. No, he can't be considered a monster. He's a monster. Everyone in the Taoist sanctum was startled. They all stood not far from Jiangchen, sizing him up. Even Long Xuanji, who was standing outside the training hall, was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at Jiangchen, and his heart was in turmoil. This kid, if we wait until he grows up, what will be left of us in this era? If this child grows up, there will be no hope for us in this era. More and more people showed their killing intent towards Jiangchen. In the end, even those who wanted to rope in Jiangchen changed their minds. They could not watch such a monster rise. Otherwise, they would be suppressed in this era and would never be able to rise again. The patriarch has good foresight, but can we really protect such a person? It's too difficult to protect him. Zhang Dongtian's expression was solemn. He thought to himself that he had to pass on this matter to the clan as soon as possible. What? Another one? After another incense stick's time, the training hall was in an uproar. It was because Jiangchen was very stable again. After another incense stick's time, he comprehended another law. This was too regular. One had to know that even people like Zhang Dongtian, Long Xuanji, and the rest took half a year to comprehend a law at the fastest time. Moreover, the further one went, the harder it was to comprehend the laws. Especially after 3 laws, some people wanted to comprehend another one. It would take at least a few years, at most 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. And now, Jiangchen's speed was indeed too heaven-defying. Of course, they did not know that these great Tao laws came knocking on their door. Jiangchen did not comprehend much at all. How many great Tao laws did I comprehend in my previous lives? Jiangchen was also shocked at this moment. He had a feeling that if he continued to comprehend, he could comprehend even more. However, with his current cultivation, he could not accommodate so many great Tao laws. Just like now, he had already woken up and hurriedly sealed these few laws. Otherwise, his body, soul, and Tao foundation would explode from the pressure. Make a scene, make a big deal out of this. Eventually, someone will come to kill me, but there will also be someone who will choose to protect me, Jiang Chun said softly. However, Jiang Chun had to protect himself first. He looked at the people around him, and then his gaze fell on Jiang Dantian. Come, I have something to give you, Jiang Chun said. When Jiang Dantian heard this, he did not hesitate. After coming to Jiang Chen's side, he saw Jiang Chen force out a strand of blood essence and sent it directly to him. Swallow it, Jiang Chen said. This blood essence? Swallow it? Jiang Dongtian's expression tightened, and he hurriedly shook his head. Although the Jiang clan likes to devour, you are the representative of our clan. How can I devour your blood essence? Swallow it. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. You will be surprised. When Jiang Dongtian heard this, he did not hesitate. After all, Jiang Chun was the representative of the Jiang clan. He believed in him unconditionally. Then, Jiang Dongtian swallowed the blood essence. In an instant, his expression changed abruptly. After a few breaths, wisps of black fog rose from his body, carrying with them the smell of decay and decay. Jiang Dongtian was extremely shocked. As a member of the evil clan, he knew what the black fog in his body was. It was a substance in all the evil clan's bodies. It was filled with the smell of decay and decay. If it was serious, not only would it hinder one's cultivation, but it would also cause misfortune to one's body. That kind of misfortune was very terrifying. The person might disappear, go crazy, or even become another creature. As mentioned before, the evil clans had been devouring other living creatures to solve this strange substance in their bodies. Now, a strand of Jiang Chen's blood essence had caused part of the dark substance in Jiang Dongtian's body to disappear. How could this not make him shocked? That? Han Mayun, you come over too, Jiang Chen said. When Han Mayun heard this, his face was incomparably gloomy. He said coldly, Who do you think you are? Do you think that with the Jiang clan protecting you, my Soul clan also has to respect you? The Soul clan is also an evil clan. Come over. He has a gift for you. Jiang Dongtian realized what Jiang Chen wanted to do and persuaded. We are all evil clans. There are some things that don't need to be hidden from you. When Han Mayun heard this, he walked over half believing and half doubting. Then, Jiang Chen also gave him a drop of blood essence. Han Mayun hesitated for a moment, then swallowed this strand of blood essence. After a few breaths, wisps of black fog also rose from his body, and his soul also became much clearer. At this moment, Han Mayun was shocked. He only said half of his words, but the remaining half was understood by Jiang Chun and Jiang Dongtian in their hearts. Protect me. I have a lot of blood essence, Jiang Chun said solemnly. Definitely. How could Han Mayun dare to disagree? One had to know that the black substance in the evil clan's body was equivalent to a life-hastening talisman to them. Now, as long as he could protect Jiang Chun, the black substance in Han Mayun's body might be completely removed. Chapter 1196. Jiang Chun thought it very clearly. Now that the matter was blown out of proportion, there would definitely be people who would have killing intent toward him. And currently in the inner court, with Jiang Chen's cultivation, wanting to protect himself was really very difficult. Forget about the average person, but now, those who wanted to kill him and wanted to make him die prematurely were all top heavens chosen who could enter the Bodhidharma. In front of these people, it was really too difficult for Jiang Chun to want to jump a few ranks to battle. Not that Jiang Chun was not confident enough in himself, but as time passed, the characters he encountered became stronger and stronger. He had to treat them with caution. Presently, those who could contend with this group of heavens chosen in the inner court, especially this group of people inside the Bodhidharma, were not many people, and Jiang Dongtian and Han Mayun were one of them. Call all of the evil races over, Jiang Chen said in a solemn voice. You guys also saw my situation. Just based on the two of you, I'm afraid it's hard to protect me. Your blood essence. I think they should agree to protect you, Hunma Yuan said. One had to know. Jiang Chen's blood essence was currently the evil race's life-saving talisman. As long as he told those evil race disciples in the inner court, those people would definitely help Jiang Chen. At the same time, Hunma Yuan also understood at this moment why the Jiang clan valued Jiang Chen so much. Perhaps it was for his blood essence. Of course, he did not know that the Jiang clan valued Jiang Chen not just for his blood essence. You'd best not leave the Bodhidharma now. You can't make a move here. Even if they have the intention to kill you, they also won't dare to make a move here. Zhang Dantian reminded, if you leave the Bodhidharma with just the two of us right now, I'm afraid it'll be hard to protect you. I know. Jiang Chen nodded. Now you guys hurry up and contact the other evil race disciples. It has to be strong. Okay, I'll go right away. Very soon, Zhang Dantian and Hunma Yuan left, preparing to contact those top evil race disciples in the inner court. As for Jiang Chen, he stayed in the Bodhidharma, but he did not continue to comprehend great Tao laws. He just sat cross-legged quietly like this and did nothing. After all, with his current cultivation, his body was unable to contain so many grand Tao laws. Although he had sealed a portion of it, if a few more grand Tao laws appeared in his body, he would probably not be able to seal it. Brad, if you show off your abilities, you won't live long. We have no choice but to admit that you are very strong. At the very least, your talent is extraordinary and rarely seen throughout the ages. It's just a pity that you shouldn't have revealed it so early. At this moment, many people were looking at Jiang Chen with undisguised killing intent in their eyes. Regarding this, Jiang Chen did not care. He did not pay attention to these people. Instead, his gaze landed on the statue in the ancient temple. Looking at the statue again, that familiar feeling welled up in his heart again. This feeling was very strange. It was as if he had seen a family member that he had not seen for a long time. And these so-called family members were like a part of him, like his blood, like his flesh. Could it be? Could it be? Suddenly, Jiang Chen thought of something, and his expression changed. He really wanted to get closer to the ancient temple and take a closer look at the statue. But with his current cultivation, he could only walk around the periphery of the Bodhidharma. If he took a few more steps forward, the pressure here was not something he could withstand. Shi Wuchen is back. Just in time? Since he's back, we have to take back the token. This brat can't stay here without the token. Half a day later, someone exclaimed with a trace of excitement. Jiang Chen was also stunned when he heard that. He did not expect Shi Wuchen to return so quickly. Then, Jiang Chen came to the edge of the Bodhidharma and looked at Shi Wuchen outside the Bodhidharma. He asked, "Can I use your token for a few more days?" "Sorry, I have to return to the Bodhidharma to continue comprehending," Shi Wuchen said softly. "Return the token to me. You're a disciple of the Four Extreme race, right? I'll give you something that might be useful to you." Jiang Chen was very direct. He forced out a wisp of essence blood and sent it to Shi Wuchen. Zhang Dantian and Hunma Yuan have both consumed it. You'll know after consuming it. Oh, Shi Wuchen was really casual. It could even be described as casual. He did not seem to suspect Jiang Chen. It was more like he did not think about whether this drop of essence blood would harm him after consuming it. The next moment, he directly consumed the essence blood, and wisps of black mist appeared on his body. At this moment, there was finally a trace of emotion on Shi Wuchen's seemingly casual expression. "I understand." Shi Wuchen did not say much and asked in return, "With your cultivation, it's useless to stay here. Why continue to stay?" Jiang Chen was also very direct. He shrugged helplessly and said, "There are many people here who want to kill me." As soon as this came out, Shi Wuchen could not help but be stunned. "How long have you been in the dojo? You've angered so many people?" Shi Wuchen asked. "It's not that I angered them, but they are jealous and jealous." Jiang Chen raised his head and sighed. He stroked his hair and sighed heavily. "If the heavens didn't give birth to me, Jiang Chen, the great Tao would be like a long night." "What do you mean?" Shi Wuchen was even more confused. "To put it simply, since I entered the dojo, I have comprehended 5 great Tao principles. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. They are worried that after I grow up, there will be no share for them in this world. Oh, I understand. They want to strangle you in the cage. Although Shi Wuchen was casual, he was not stupid. Immediately, he took a deep look at Jiang Chen and chuckled. You really can't die for any evil race. So, you have to protect me, Jiang Chen said. And of course, Shi Wuchen nodded. After saying that, Shi Wuchen's expression turned gloomy. A terrifying aura erupted from his body, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He looked at everyone in the dojo and said slowly and coldly, if you want to kill him, you have to kill me first. Shi Wuchen, there are many people here who want to kill him. Can you stop them all by yourself? Shi Wuchen, you are not invincible in the inner yard, many people retorted, but Shi Wuchen did not say much. Instead, he pointed to his side and said, what do I have to fear? If you are not convinced, come out and fight. Don't be too arrogant. Those who can enter the dojo in the inner yard are all geniuses. Although they are a little afraid of you, it doesn't mean that we are afraid of you. Shi Wuchen, he comprehended 1 great Tao principle in half an hour. What good will it do for you if such a person grows up? The world is so big, and we have to chase after it. If he grows up, will there be a share for us in this world? In the face of these words, Shi Wuchen began to become casual again. He shrugged indifferently and said jokingly, what does it have to do with me? He is strong, and I am weak. I don't care. Chapter 1197. When everyone heard Shi Wuchen's words, many people's expressions were very natural, and they didn't find it strange. After all, they all knew what kind of person Shi Wuchen was. But Jiang Chen didn't know. At this moment, he was also curious and couldn't help but ask, are you really so casual? Since I comprehended the law of fate, I've been like this. Everything is up to fate, Shi Wuchen said. A law of fate. Everything is up to fate. Jiang Chen was stunned for a long time and then smiled bitterly. How many of the 3,000 great Taoists were unknown? Today, if Shi Wuchen didn't talk about the law of fate, Jiang Chen would really find it hard to believe that there was such a law among the 3,000 great Taoists. With your cultivation, you still comprehended those laws? Jiang Chen asked curiously. The law of peace, the law of sleep, the law of silence. Shi Wuchen said. Jiang Chen heard this and was confused on the spot. Big brother, what kind of strange laws did you comprehend? Peace? Is it the peace of peace? Sleep? Don't tell me it's sleeping. Silence. I can see that you're quite calm, no matter what you encounter. Jiang Chen wanted to tell Shi Wuchen that the laws he comprehended were really useful in battle. My laws are very strong, Shi Wuchen explained. There are 3,000 great Taoists, and each of them has its own meaning. Oh, my cultivation is still low, so I don't understand these. Jiang Chen muttered. At this moment, Jiang Dongtian and Han Moyuan returned. They only brought one person, a disciple of the Great Void race, Tai Hao. This person was also a famous powerhouse in the inner yard. It was even rumored that his combat strength was not weaker than Long Xuanji. I'm Tai Hao. Greetings to the highest consecrator. Tai Hao directly bowed to Jiang Chen. His attitude was very humble and his posture was very low. Jiang Chen smiled and waved his hand without saying anything. After all, Jiang Dongtian and the others should have told him before coming here. Then, Jiang Chen gave a wisp of essence blood to Tai Hao and said, follow me from now on. You'll have enough essence blood. Thank you, highest consecrator. Tai Hao was very excited. He had heard about it before. Now that he had obtained a strand of Jiang Chen's essence blood, the excitement in his eyes could not be concealed. However, Jiang Chen and the others were not worried. After all, as long as Jiang Chen was still in the training hall, no one would dare to attack him. It's almost time for the dojo to close. But at this moment, Long Xuanji said softly, once the day of closure begins, the dojo will be closed for 10 days. These 10 days. Hearing this, Jiang Dongtian and the others were a little confused. They calculated the time. Wasn't today the day the dojo would be closed? Wong. At the same time, a series of explosions came from the dojo. Then, one law after another appeared in the ancient temple. Some were gentle, some were violent, and some emitted an obscure aura. Under the influence of these laws, everyone retreated one after another, not daring to continue staying in the dojo. What's going on? Jiang Chen asked. There are ancient restrictions in the dojo. Every once in a while, it will be closed for 10 days. Hunma Yuan said, Come out quickly. The restrictions in the dojo have been activated. You must not touch those laws. Otherwise, no one can save you. When Jiang Chen heard this, he was shocked and hurriedly took a step out. However, the moment he walked out of the dojo, a strand of law touched him. At that moment, Jiang Chen and the others' hearts turned cold. They thought that Jiang Chen was dead meat. One should know that there was once an emperor who had touched those laws. In the end, he dissipated in an instant and died. However, in the next moment, everyone's expression changed. That was because Jiang Chen was completely fine. Those laws floated past him like illusions and did not cause any harm to him. What? What's going on? Why is the restriction in the dojo ineffective on him? Everyone was puzzled. Even Jiang Chen was a little puzzled. However, just as he was puzzled, he suddenly felt as if someone was watching him. When he suddenly turned around, Jiang Chen felt that he might have been hallucinating. That was because he saw that the statue in the ancient temple seemed to be vibrating gently. Moreover, the statue's eyes seemed to have opened for a moment. Its gaze happened to meet with Jiang Chen's. Am I thinking too much? Jiang Chen thought to himself. He did not say it out loud. Boom! At that moment, terrifying auras exploded all around him. A total of 12 prodigies who came out of the dojo surrounded Jiang Chen. Killing intent appeared on their bodies. Runes and laws swirled around their bodies. I'll leave it to you. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and shamelessly hid behind Jiang Dantian and the others. 12. We don't have to do anything. Just leave it to Shi Wuchen. Jiang Dantian looked at Shi Wuchen with a strange expression and said, Maybe you can't defeat them, but you can definitely block them? No problem. Shi Wuchen nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand. A mysterious light sprinkled down and enveloped Jiang Chen and the others. The mysterious light turned into a domain. Radiance swirled in the domain, and the laws that Shi Wuchen comprehended floated up and down. For a moment, Jiang Chen's expression was a little dazed. His heart suddenly became peaceful, and he even felt a little sleepy. Moreover, Jiang Chen could feel that the power in his body sometimes surged and sometimes fell to the bottom. Sometimes he could even be described as a cripple. The law of peace, the law of sleep. Hunma Yuan shook his head and said with a dark face, Shi Wuchen, what's the use of these laws that you've comprehended? It's useful. Shi Wuchen smiled and said, When they enter my comprehension, they will either feel sleepy or lose their fighting spirit, or they will be affected by my law of fate. Their combat power will fluctuate. It's all up to fate. Jiang Chen, who was on the verge of dozing off, shivered when he heard her. He had to admit that although the laws that Shi Wuchen comprehended were strange, they were really terrifying. At the same time, the group of people outside the domain had ugly expressions. They more or less knew Shi Wuchen's laws. Shi Wuchen, how long can your domain last? Can you hold on? We'll wait here until your domain disappears. Shi Wuchen was very casual when he heard this. He pointed at Jiang Dantian, Hunma Yuan, and Tai Hao and said, I can't hold on anymore. There's still them. After saying that, Shi Wuchen counted with his fingers and said softly, It's not a problem to hold on for 10 days. After 10 days, the training hall will open again. Shi Wuchen, do you have any shame? In any case, you're an inner court powerhouse. Do you dare to fight head-on? At this moment, many people directly curse Shi Wuchen for not having the demeanor of a powerhouse. Chapter 1198. Everyone scolded Sherwuchen. Some also opened their mouths to provoke. But Sherwuchen simply ignored them. He just stood inside the domain with a smile, maintaining the domain to operate normally. As for other things, what did it have to do with him? Sherwuchen, what's your ranking in the inner court? Jiangchen asked curiously, his expression quite strange. Third. Sherwuchen had an indifferent look and asked back, what's wrong? Ah. Third in the inner court? Are you really so casual? So many people are scolding you, all mocking and provoking you. You really don't care? Jiangchen asked. When Sherwuchen heard that, he was still so indifferent, only to see him shrug his shoulders, shake his head again, and said softly, I don't care. This inner court third actually wasn't fought out by me either. It was evaluated by others. The moment these words came out, Jiangchen could not help being taken aback. Did not even fight, and he became the inner court's third? However, Jiangchen finally saw through that Sherwuchen was really strong. It was just that he did not have a heart to fight. Then who's first and second? Jiangchen asked. Second is Long Xuanji. As for the first one, what's he called again? Sherwuchen frowned. Haven't seen him for a long time, already forgot his name. The first is the Peacock Royal Clan's Kong Lingxiong. Han Meiyuan's expression turned slightly intent. When mentioning Kong Lingxiong, a trace of dread actually appeared in his eyes. One had to know, Han Meiyuan was also of the evil race. He dared to challenge Jiang Dongtian previously. This was sufficient to show that Han Meiyuan's strength was not weak, not even beneath Jiang Dongtian. Furthermore, looking at his attitude toward Long Xuanji, one could tell that Han Meiyuan was also not afraid of the inner court's second-ranked Long Xuanji. Then, what was the deal with that Kong Lingxiong? Just being one rank higher than Long Xuanji made Han Meiyuan dread? Kong Lingxiong is indeed very strong, but he has been in close seclusion all along. Haven't seen him for several years. Jiang Dongtian said in a solemn voice, that guy is really somewhat freakishly strong. It's also fortunate that Kong Lingxiong isn't here. If he was seeing us evil races protecting you like this, he would definitely make a move to deal with you. Tai Hao said, after all, the Peacock Royal Clan and evil races have a reconcilable hatred. Oh, you mean, if Kong Lingxiong makes a move, even Sherwuchen's realm won't be able to protect me? Jiangchen asked curiously. One had to know that Sherwuchen's domain was formed by the fusion of many great Tao laws. Not to mention a god emperor. Even an emperor would find it difficult to break through such a domain in a short period of time. The Peacock Royal Clan has a special ability that can break through all domains. Sherwuchen muttered. Oh, then it is indeed fortunate that Kong Lingxiong is not here. Jiangchen said softly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, an extremely powerful aura suddenly came from afar. This aura was like the arrival of a king. It was as if all living things had to submit to him. At this moment, everyone turned around and saw a youth with colorful hair, dressed in a green robe, slowly walking towards them. Is it our bad luck, or is it your personal problem? Jiang Dongtian looked at Jiangchen strangely, then pointed at the young man in the green robe and said, that guy is Kong Lingxiong. What? It couldn't be right? What a coincidence. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. A few seconds ago, he was still talking about Kong Lingxiong. He did not expect that a few seconds later, this guy would appear just like that. Kong Lingxiong, you came at the right time. These evil races have joined forces to protect a human. With the relationship between your Peacock Royal Clan and the evil races, you won't let them succeed, right? At this moment, many people spoke. Their words were full of provocation. Kong Lingxiong did not say much about this. He walked over step by step with a calm expression. However, with every step he took, Sherwuchen's domain would tremble, and there would be a loud explosion. When he was 100 meters away from Jiangchen, Sherwuchen's face turned pale. At the same time, his domain completely collapsed at this moment. I'll leave the rest to you guys. Sherwuchen was really casual. After his domain was shattered, he did not even think of attacking. He just stood to the side as if it had nothing to do with him. Jiang Chun was also dumbfounded. Brother, can you not be so casual? Did I feed that drop of blood essence to the dogs? It's really curious. The disciples of the evil races in the inner courtyard actually joined forces to protect a human. At this moment, Kong Lingxiong took a few steps forward. His eyes flickered as he kept sizing up Jiang Chun. At this moment, Jiang Chun, Han Huayuan, and Tai Hao stepped forward one after another and blocked in front of Jiang Chun. Each of them exuded a terrifying aura, and their battle intent even erupted. They were not as casual as Shi Wuchen, and they knew very well that if Jiang Chun died, the strange substance in the evil race's body would not be solved for a long time. This was related to the future of the evil race. Kong Lingxiong, this has nothing to do with you. Zhang Dongtian said in a deep voice. I know that there is a deep hatred between the evil race and the Peacock Royal clan. But today, can you give me face and leave and don't interfere in this matter? You, Zhang Dongtian, you have quite a lot of face, but unfortunately, Kong Lingxiong, will not give it to you. Kong Lingxiong was very direct. After all, everyone knew about the conflict between the Peacock Royal clan and the evil race. That was a blood feud accumulated by the ancestors. How could it be resolved so easily? If he doesn't have enough face, then what about the two of us? Is this not enough face? Han Huayuan said coldly. As soon as these words came out, Kong Lingxiong was stunned. He glanced at Tai Hao and the other two and asked, Why are you protecting this human? Without waiting for Tai Hao and the others to explain, those who wanted to kill Jiang Chun explained clearly. Oh, comprehending a law order in half an hour? This talent is indeed enviable. Kong Lingxiong's eyes flashed coldly, and then he joked, It's not a good thing to show off after all. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, he raised his hand and struck out a palm. A five-colored ray of light rushed toward Tai Hao and the other two. The terrifying aura was as if the sky was collapsing, and even the space around it was collapsing. One should know that this was near the dojo. The space here was very solid and filled with the Great Path Law. It was unbreakable. However, Kong Lingxiong's palm strike had actually shattered the space here. Kong Lingxiong, others call you the number one in the inner yard, but we have never acknowledged it. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. Zhang Dongtian and the other two did not flinch. They did not care about the fact that they were ganging up on Zhang Dongtian. The three of them joined forces, and their fists, palm prints, and the Great Path Law burst forth. Endless divine light shot up into the sky. Boom! With a loud explosion, Kong Lingxiong's palm print was shattered. At the same time, Zhang Dongtian rushed to Kong Lingxiong's front. His hands were like eagle claws, surrounded by the Great Path Law, and like an upside-down waterfall, he pressed down on Kong Lingxiong's head. This was a killing move right from the start. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.